The school informs Sakura Makoto that he's been expelled, but he just smiles at the situation. The other students were all buzzing about him. Some said he was cool, while others cursed him out, saying he'd beaten up a bunch of people. Hearing this, Sakura just thought that people could say whatever they wanted. He had only stepped in to stop some bullying, but it ended up turning into a fight. Even though he was the only one who got hit, the school still forced him to drop out. The reason? The bully was the son of the student council president. Leaving the school, Sakura saw the bully waiting for him. The guy asked if Sakura had gotten expelled, but Sakura didn't answer and just kept walking. This angered the bully, who kicked Sakura from behind. The guy laughed and told Sakura not to think he could get away that easily. He yelled that he didn't know what some side character like Sakura was thinking. But if he wanted to play hero again, he should pick his fights more carefully next time. When Sakura got home, his parents yelled at him for getting expelled. They asked why he would cause trouble when he knew exactly how they would react. His father even scolded his mother, asking why she hadn't called the school to discuss it with the others. Sakura got angry and started to leave the house. His father yelled for him to wait because the conversation wasn't over. But Sakura yelled back that as far as he was concerned, it was over, because it was his fault anyway, right? Sakura stood on a bridge, thinking about how difficult adults were when it came to certain things, especially social relationships. To him, it all seemed so constricting and absurd. Sakura's greatest wish was to be able to live more freely and happily. Suddenly, he noticed a newly built structure ahead. Curious, he wondered what it was, and as he looked around, he saw several more similar buildings. Just then, the ground began to tremble slightly. Sakura was startled and afraid, thinking it was an earthquake. When the shaking stopped, he looked around and was shocked to see a similar building had appeared behind him, as if it had materialized out of thin air. Sakura noticed a staircase leading down and wondered if there was a way to explore inside. When he searched online, Sakura discovered that people all over the world had been posting about this. Digging deeper, he was thrilled to learn that this new structure was called a dungeon. Filled with joy and a desire for freedom, Sakura decided to enter the dungeon to explore. Meanwhile, on television, reporters were covering a story that around 6 p.m. in Japan, there had been multiple earthquakes exceeding a magnitude of 5. All around the world, the epicenters remained unidentified, and strange dungeon-like structures had appeared, leaving everyone confused. It was reported that some people had been attacked by strange creatures upon entering these structures, and sadly, some had died. In response, the government announced that they would be conducting an investigation and issued an emergency evacuation order. The next day, reporters also urged people living near the dungeon areas to stay away to ensure their safety. The scene cuts back to Sakura, who has entered the dungeon. He was amazed by the structure inside. Suddenly, a voice announced from somewhere that the level-up system had been activated. Wondering where the voice came from and what a level-up system was, Sakura listened as the system explained that if he called out status open, it would display his current status, equipment, and magic items. Excited by the game-like idea, Sakura shouted, "Status open." When he saw his stats, he was surprised to realize they were very low. Even as the system began to explain further, Sakura told the system it didn't need to continue explaining because he already knew about it. The system apologized, thinking the information would be helpful, and asked if it should be removed. Sakura said no, telling the system to just leave it as it was since it didn't confuse him. The system cheerfully replied, ensuring Sakura's satisfaction. When Sakura asked about skills, the system explained that when he reached certain levels, he would receive a random skill, or an existing skills level would increase. To start, Sakura had a skill called Infinite Level Up, and a level 1 fire magic skill. Curious, Sakura asked what the Infinite Level Up skill meant. The system explained that it was a skill that allowed him to surpass the normal level cap and continue leveling up indefinitely. Suddenly, a slime monster appeared in front of Sakura. The system encouraged him to try his skill for the first time. instructing him to raise his hand toward the monster and call out the skill's name. Sakura did as he was told, shouting, "Fire Magic Level 1!" To his surprise, a real flame shot out from his hand and incinerated the slime. The system announced that his level had increased to 1 and that the tutorial was complete. Excited by this, Sakura thought about asking for the system's name. At Sakura's suggestion, the system agreed that he could call it whatever he liked. Sakura suggested naming the system Dropping Out Chan, and the system agreed. Suddenly, the system wished him good luck. Sakura was confused by this, but his confusion quickly turned to tension when a level 20 Minotaur appeared behind him. The Minotaur attacked Sakura, but he managed to dodge. When Sakura tried to counterattack with his skill, he was horrified to realize that no flames appeared. Checking his status, he realized his mana points had dropped to 0 after using the attack on the slime earlier. Sakura focused on the fact that his level had increased and shouted that with this skill, the Minotaur would be easily defeated. He started running back the way he came and found another slime. Once again, he destroyed it, and his level increased by 3 levels. This time, Sakura got a new skill called 1,000 times experience points. He was thrilled because now, defeating demons or monsters would grant him 1,000 times the normal experience points. Determined to level up quickly, he decided to use this strategy to defeat the Minotaur. The next day, Sakura's mother told Wazuma that she had received a message from Sakura an hour ago. Wazuma worriedly asked where Sakura was. Sakura's mother replied that he'd said he was in the dungeon. The scene cuts back to the dungeon, where Sakura was still fighting the Minotaur. By this point, he had reached level 15. Sakura said that he had been in the dungeon for half a day and had also learned a few things. He discovered that even if the walls or floor were destroyed, they would return to normal after a certain amount of time. Similarly, monsters would also respawn after a while, and it seemed they couldn't leave the confines of the dungeon. Realizing he couldn't land an effective blow, Sakura decided to head toward the stairs and sit down there. He wondered whether he should call his mom to talk or just leave the dungeon for a while. Sakura also noticed that the monsters wouldn't chase him when he got close to the stairs. Taking advantage of this, Sakura left the dungeon once more and rested to recover his strength. However, he couldn't understand why he felt so cornered in the situation. Just then, Sakura faced a bat-like monster. With 0 MP left after his fight with the Minotaur, Sakura couldn't level up or attack effectively. To make matters worse, he was feeling exhausted and hungry. In a desperate situation, Sakura wondered if the monsters he had defeated upon entering the dungeon might have respawned. He decided to go back and defeat them again, hoping to find a way forward. Thanks to his 1,000 times experience point skill, Sakura leveled up 3 times each time he defeated a monster, eventually reaching level 25. Finally, he was able to land a punch that took down the Minotaur, and this victory shot him up another 18 levels, bringing him to level 43. Sakura was amazed by the experience, finding it much more exciting than he had ever imagined. The scene shifts to 2 weeks later, with television programs showing crowds gathered near a hall, demanding the dungeons be opened. The whole world was focused on a United Nations meeting to discuss whether or not to open the dungeons. The president of Japan urged other nations to open their dungeons, stressing that the items recovered from dungeons and the level-up system were beyond current scientific explanation, hinting at their potential importance for global understanding and development. He also asked if there was any other way to utilize the findings from the dungeons besides pursuing a technological revolution. Someone else loudly objected, saying that shouldn't be a reason to grant everyone access. The president of Japan repeated his question, asking if they had thoroughly investigated the dungeons, stating that not only firearms but also modern scientific equipment using telecommunication waves had been found. He urged the nations to abandon their old ways of thinking, because what they needed now were not just armies, but highly skilled individuals. He proposed ignoring regional boundaries and allowing all citizens to freely explore the dungeons. The president suggested that the state could buy back the items recovered from the dungeons, which would be the most effective approach. He emphasized the need to acknowledge the dangers of dungeon exploration and ensure proper measures were in place to handle any associated risks. However, he also believed individuals should be responsible for their own decisions when exploring dungeons. Furthermore, whether they pursue dreams, money, fame, or freedom, and despite the dangers, those who explore and seek these things need a name that neither deifies nor demeans them. Let's call them players. The scene shifts to 8 months later in Amori Prefecture, where a group of players is preparing to raid a white rank 40Q dungeon on the 5th underground floor. In reality, this group of players was facing an unnamed monster. A girl named Aya asked a boy named Hiro if he was okay. Hiro replied that he was fine and asked about the new monster, noting it was very different from the minotaurs they'd encountered before. Aya asked Hiro if they should leave the dungeon, since their levels weren't high enough to defeat this monster. Hiro yelled for both girls to run, insisting that he would stay behind because if they ran together, all three of them would die. Aya, stunned and stressed, asked what Hiro was talking about. Hiro told her not to overthink it and to let him fight the monster so they could escape. Despite Aya's attempts to stop him, Hiro wouldn't listen. As he approached the monster, it easily sent him flying with a single punch. The Minotaur prepared to attack Hiro again, and the girls screamed, urging him to run, while Hiro stood frozen, confused, and not knowing what to do. Hiro recalled his past actions, where he had treated his two younger sisters poorly, and began to apologize for everything he had done. Just then, everyone was surprised to see Sakura appear, right as the Minotaur was about to strike Hiro again. Sakura quickly intervened, saving Hiro by taking down the Minotaur with just one punch. Afterward, Sakura smiled and asked if everyone was okay. The two girls and Hiro repeatedly thanked Sakura for saving them. Hiro praised Sakura's strength, remarking that he must be incredibly powerful to beat a Minotaur in a single punch. Sakura laughed and explained that it wasn't quite what Hiro thought. When Hiro asked Sakura about his level, Sakura replied that, including the monster he just defeated, his level was 10,000. Everyone was stunned, wondering about what Sakura had just revealed. A few minutes later, Aya was giving Hiro first aid and asked why he didn't use her healing spell. Hiro chuckled and explained that she was out of mana. Meanwhile, on the other side, Sakura showed Hiro his status. Seeing it, Hiro was shocked to realize that Sakura had been telling the truth. He also asked if it was thanks to the skill's infinite level and 1,000 times experience points that Sakura was able to reach such an unbelievable level. Sakura responded with a smile and confirmed that was the case, admitting he had done pretty well for himself. Seeing this, Hiro advised him not to reveal his level so carelessly to others, and to avoid attracting unnecessary attention. Sakura looked confused and asked why. Hiro yelled, asking if Sakura understood that if his level were exposed, not just the Japanese government, but possibly the entire world would monitor and exploit him, which could lead to unimaginable consequences. Hearing this, Sakura realized he could lose his freedom if his level became public knowledge. Stressed out, he asked Hiro to pretend he hadn't heard anything. Hiro laughed and reassured Sakura that he knew he was a good person, reminding him that he had saved them. The girls, oblivious to the conversation, were minding their own business, so there was no reason for Sakura to be stressed. Model: Sakura thanked Hiro for explaining everything and promised to be more careful from now on. Just then, Aya walked up and called out Sakura's name. Her sudden appearance made both Sakura and Hiro tense up. Seeing their reaction, a confused Aya asked what was wrong and why they looked so surprised. Hiro bluntly asked Aya if she'd heard everything they were just discussing. Confused by his question, Aya said she hadn't. Hiro then asked what she wanted to talk about. Aya praised Sakura's strength and asked if he was aiming for that dungeon. Sakura acted strangely, as if he had no idea what she was talking about. Surprised, Aya asked if he really didn't know. She then shared that the country's first challenge was to clear the Red Shadow Pink Rank dungeon in Okinawa, and the reward for the player who defeated the boss on the deepest floor was 30 million. Hearing this, Sakura was stunned and excited, exclaiming how interesting things were getting. Aya and Hiro were bewildered by his sudden change in attitude. Sakura was fascinated by the idea of a dungeon so tough the government had to offer a reward for it. He thanked Aya and the others for the information, mentioning that he planned on heading to that dungeon. Sakura noted that if he left soon, he could get there by tomorrow, which was Monday. Hearing that, a confused Yui reminded him that tomorrow was only Saturday, adding that Sakura had been in the dungeon since last week. Sakura tensed up, realizing that if everyone found out he'd been in the dungeon continuously since he left home, it could mean serious trouble for him. Sakura immediately took off, running at full speed. After Sakura was gone, Hiro apologized to Aya and Yui, admitting that he had made them panic. Hiro also expressed that he was getting old and wouldn't be able to protect them forever, wondering if he could even continue being a player under these circumstances. Aya, emotional but calm, asked if Hiro was really planning to quit now, after he was the one who got them all fired up. She insisted that their hardships were just minor hurdles and nothing to worry about. He suggested they focus on becoming the strongest siblings and create the ultimate team together from now on. Hearing this, Hiro was moved to tears. Aya teased him, telling him not to cry since he was a grown man. Hiro, re-energized, passionately shouted that they would give it their all and become the strongest team ever. The scene shifts to Sakura, who is on his way to a new dungeon and feeling the chill in Okinawa. Sakura noticed that in the 8 months since dungeons appeared, various systems and facilities had been created for players, including a dungeon center. At the dungeon center, Sakura could buy and sell items. He started selling everything he had gathered from his raids, while the receptionist, a woman named Maya, looked utterly confused and astonished by his actions. Seeing Maya's reaction, Sakura asked if something was wrong. Maya replied that she was astonished by the sheer volume of items he'd brought, especially considering the size of his bag. Hearing her comment, Sakura explained that his bag was a magic bag dropped by a monster called an adamantite. He clarified that no matter the size or quantity of the items, they all fit inside without a problem, which was really convenient for him. Hearing Sakura's explanation about the magic bag, Maya was incredibly surprised. She asked if the adamantite was a giant turtle, implying it must have been incredibly powerful. Maya then asked Sakura if he wanted to team up with her. Sakura told her to appraise his items first. Suddenly, as he looked around, he was shocked to see another dungeon right inside the center itself. Maya explained that the government had built the dungeon center around this particular dungeon. Suddenly, Maya remembered something and told Sakura that while the dungeon was only low level, no one had managed to defeat its boss yet. But with his strength, it might be possible. Sakura then asked how long the appraisal would take. Maya said she'd need about 10 minutes. Sakura agreed to go raid the dungeon in the meantime. The scene shifts to the lowest floor, Floor 5, where a group of male students were cautiously approaching the boss's area to check things out. One of them remarked that he thought it was just a U-rank dungeon, meaning someone must have already beaten the boss since he couldn't see anything. Suddenly, Sakura zipped past them, heading for the boss on Floor 5. As he went, he thought to himself that the boys were wrong. The boss was definitely still here. He knew because as long as a boss is present, the air always feels cold and heavy. When he reached a certain point, Sakura sensed a presence and located it directly above him. The monster was a Slime King. For some reason, the Slime King started to flee from Sakura. He tried chasing it at full speed but realized the Slime King was incredibly fast. Even with his speed at level 10,000, he still felt slow. So that's why no one had been able to beat it until now. Analyzing the situation, Sakura began to use his level 10 ice magic skill. The moment he used it, the Slime King was frozen solid, and Sakura finished it off with a single punch. Afterward, Sakura obtained an item and thought about heading back. Just then, his system displayed that his level had increased by 9,900. Sakura was shocked and wondered if he'd misheard. To be sure, he checked his status and was stunned to see he had really reached level 19,900. This was because the monster was so fast and difficult to deal with that he had earned a massive amount of experience points. However, what caught Sakura's interest even more than his level was a new skill, Flying Cloud Magic, Level 1. He wondered if the skill name implied actual flight, so he decided to try it out. As a result, he found himself hovering in mid-air. However, since the skill was at such a low level, he could only hover for about 2 to 3 seconds. As a result, he felt a bit disappointed. He'd been hoping he could fly back to Okinawa, but now he'd have to stick to his original plan of taking a plane 2 days later. The scene shifts to Okinawa Prefecture, at the Red Shadow Pink Rank Dungeon. Sakura was thrilled to see the dungeon and the crowd of people gathered around it. Excited to be back at a dungeon after only 2 days away, Sakura wanted to head inside immediately. Outside, some people were discussing the huge reward, speculating that the monster inside must be high level and too dangerous to confront. They decided against risking entry. As Sakura moved to enter, a nearby man told him he understood being tempted by the 30 million prize, but advised him against it, saying the dungeon was incredibly dangerous. The man added that even though he was level 66, he had barely managed to escape with his life. As they were talking, Sakura suddenly heard another sound approaching. Looking up, he was surprised to see a helicopter landing very close to the dungeon. From the helicopter, a girl and 3 bodyguards emerged. The girl demanded that Sakura get out of her way immediately. Sakura wondered if this was the first time he'd ever seen a real rich girl, but he told the girl he thought she was still just a kid. Even though they were probably the same age, the girl retorted that she wasn't a child, and neither was he. She introduced herself as Maria Feingold. Suddenly, Sakura noticed that the man who had just been advising him had disappeared. Maria also mentioned that for someone like her, at level 99, an H-rank dungeon was no big deal. Hearing this, Sakura asked Maria if she was really level 99. Maria confirmed it, stating that level 99 was the highest level in the entire country. Sakura then remarked that she still looked very young, but quickly apologized for saying it out loud. Maria, in turn, became a little angry with Sakura for his disrespect. Sakura pressed on, asking her age since she claimed not to be a child. Maria indignantly replied that she was 12 years old, stressing that his question was rude. She then asked Sakura if he considered 12 to be old enough. Sakura replied that a 12-year-old is still a kid. Maria looked shocked and tensely asked how he could be so rude. Maria's secretary stepped forward and explained to Sakura that Maria is of Russian and Jewish descent, where 12 is considered the age of adulthood. Pleased with her secretary's explanation, Maria asked Sakura if he understood now. She then proceeded into the dungeon, telling Sakura to step aside and instructing her bodyguards to wait outside until she returned. As Maria disappeared inside, Sakura wondered if being level 99 was really enough for her to venture in alone. Suddenly, Sakura heard Maria's secretary apologize, prompting him to ask for confirmation. This time, however, Maria's secretary replied that it was nothing and that she hadn't said anything. The scene then shifts inside the dungeon, where Sakura had defeated a monster and was surprised that he hadn't encountered any until then. He also found the dungeon's interior to be quite impressive. Just then, Sakura heard someone crying for help. Tensing up, he looked in the direction of the voice and saw a girl running towards him, chased by a monster and pleading for help. Looking closer, Sakura realized it was Maria, the level 99 player and young lady screaming for help. Maria yelled again, asking if anyone else was in the dungeon. Seeing her, Sakura wondered what she was doing here, but quickly told her to get down. He then used his level 10 fire magic skill. Witnessing that power, Maria was terrified and quickly ducked. After defeating the monster, Sakura approached Maria and asked if she was okay. Confusion showed on Sakura's face when he saw her expression. Maria replied that she hadn't asked for his help at all. Sakura questioned why she would tell such a blatant lie. Maria got up, asserting that she could stand on her own and didn't need any help. Sakura, still calling her a kid, asked why she was running away. Maria snapped back that she was not a kid. Her name was Maria. Sakura then asked her again why she was running from a fight when she was level 99. Maria answered that it was because she had never actually defeated a real monster before. Seeing her say it so proudly, Sakura asked in annoyance why she was bragging about it. He wondered if the whole story about her being level 99 was a lie. Maria firmly replied that it was not, then explained that her bodyguards would fight the monsters until they were nearly defeated, and then she would deliver the final blow to get experience points and level up. Hearing this, Sakura grew frustrated, but he forced a smile to hide his feelings and advised her to be careful on her way back. Unexpectedly, Maria suddenly hugged Sakura from behind and held on tight, preventing him from moving. Sakura angrily demanded to know what she was doing. Maria laughed and told Sakura she would grant him the privilege of joining her party. Sakura retorted by pointing out that the exit was behind her, implying she should head that way. Maria shouted that she refused to leave, declaring that she was determined to clear this dungeon. Hearing this, Sakura suggested she go outside and get help from the guys in black instead of bothering him. Maria asked if he was kidding, stressing that she'd made an inspiring speech outside and couldn't just run away in front of everyone like that. She admitted to Sakura that she was actually terrified and asked him to defeat the monsters for her. Sakura finally understood that Maria was being serious, but still annoyed, asked her to just get to the point. Maria responded by proposing they team up, adding that she wouldn't let him go until he agreed. Sakura replied that he understood her request, so she should let him go. Maria started to celebrate, but Sakura cut her off and told her to hold on, wanting to get things straight first. He then asked what was in it for him if he helped her. Maria asked, confused, if he meant that teaming up with her wasn't a benefit in itself. Sakura reiterated that he wanted to understand why she was so determined to clear the dungeon, since it seemed her goal wasn't just the 30 million yen reward. Maria firmly replied that was correct, explaining that her goal was to conquer the dungeon to prove her maturity to her parents, who lived far away. She clarified that she didn't want the experience points or the 30 million yen reward, but simply the honor of being the one who cleared the Red Shadow dungeon. Hearing this, Sakura was shocked and thought that for people like him, seeking honor and attention was just a pain. Instead, Sakura decided that Maria should get all the credit for clearing the dungeon. Sakura told Maria he would agree to team up on the condition that she claimed to have cleared the dungeon by herself. Maria happily agreed to this condition. A moment later, realizing she was being too friendly, she backed away and told Sakura he should feel honored to be in a party with her. Sakura got tense and reminded her that he said the deal was only for the Red Shadow dungeon. Maria retorted that he didn't need to say it because she already knew. The two of them proceeded to the second floor, where a level 60 Devil Boar was waiting. This time, Maria seemed confident. Sakura remarked that if Maria couldn't defeat the monster on her own, it would be a huge problem. Maria yelled back, feeling disrespected by his comment. Sakura quickly shushed her and asked if she had brought any weapons. Maria smiled sheepishly, holding up her bare hands for him to see. Sakura was stressed but handed Maria a dagger, encouraging her to use it. He reassured her that while it might be scary at first, with her level at 99, she would manage. Maria took the dagger, mustered her courage, and leaped to attack the monster, plunging the dagger into its head. The monster was defeated, and Maria began to celebrate, thrilled that she had beaten a real monster for the first time in her life. As they made their way to the third floor, Sakura thought to himself that Maria's level 99 wasn't just for show. As long as it was real, everything would be fine. Maria was excited and urged Sakura to move faster, as she wanted to clear the dungeon by herself. However, in her haste, she slipped and tumbled down the stairs. Sakura watched her fall and hoped she was okay. When they both set foot on the third floor, Sakura grew curious about the skills Maria had learned, since he'd never seen her use any. Maria made a strange face and asked if he really wanted to know about them. Sakura told Maria to stop acting like that because it was starting to get weird. Maria then replied that if he wanted to know, she had learned 4 incredibly powerful skills. For her first skill, Maria demonstrated level 5 vacuum magic, creating blades of vacuum that shot down at the ground. Sakura was amazed to see it and was impressed that she could create vacuum blades. Maria shared that she wasn't very good at controlling vacuum magic and found it difficult to use. Then, she demonstrated her second skill, Level 10 Recovery Magic, explaining that she could instantly heal any wound, no matter how severe. While Sakura was still processing that, Maria revealed her third skill was Level 1 Resurrection Magic. Sakura was shocked and asked if this meant she could bring back the dead. Maria replied that it seemed possible and wondered if she was the only person in the world who could use resurrection magic. Sakura thought that the skill sounded like a bug in the game. Finally, she shared that her fourth skill was a super rare one that allowed her to receive 10 times the experience points. Hearing this, Sakura was surprised and asked if the skill was really that rare. Maria was confused by Sakura's reaction and asked why he seemed so indifferent when this was a skill that let her get 10 times the experience points. She explained that when she defeated a monster, she would get 10 times the experience points compared to others. She asked Sakura if he had ever heard of such an overpowered skill. That's when Sakura realized why Maria had reached level 99. Sakura started to think that perhaps there were also people who possessed infinite leveling skills, something he had never considered before. Maria stared at Sakura, tense and angry. He asked what was wrong, but she said it was nothing and then asked about his skills. Sakura wondered why she was angry and thought that mentioning skills like 1,000 times experience points and infinite leveling was unnecessary. Besides, he didn't like rumors spreading, so he needed to be careful. He then showed Maria his skills, fire magic, ice magic, and lightning magic, all at level 10, along with flying cloud magic at level 1. Maria was stunned and amazed by each skill Sakura demonstrated. She praised him for having so many level 10 skills, and even a flying skill, saying he was truly impressive and strong. Sakura thanked her for the compliment. Maria then asked if that made her the strongest person right after him. Sakura felt stressed out by her optimism. Maria then asked if with so many magic skills, Sakura was also at level 99. Sakura hesitated before answering, but Maria mistook his silence for a yes. She was overjoyed that they were a two-person team both at level 99, making them the strongest team, with her as the leader. Sakura smiled and agreed with her, thinking to himself that this situation was just weird. Despite the mutual benefits, partnering up with someone else still felt surprising to him, but he thought maybe trying it out once in a while wasn't so bad. On the other hand, Maria was surprised to see Sakura laugh so freely. She remarked that she was surprised Sakura could make such a happy face. Sakura got embarrassed and told her to stop teasing him because she talked too much. When they reached the 6th floor, Sakura had to fight off a horde of zombies because Maria was too scared to handle them herself. After Sakura defeated all the zombies, Maria yelled that this dungeon level wasn't cool at all. Sakura sarcastically replied that she wasn't so cool herself. Suddenly, they saw a man being attacked by a monster. Maria immediately ran over to save the man, worrying Sakura because now she was in danger instead. She started crying for help, and Sakura quickly helped them both escape. The man thanked them for saving him and restored his magic. As the man started to leave, Maria asked if he shouldn't be going the other way. Since they had just come from there, the man replied that he was heading back. Sakura tensely asked why and wondered if anyone had cleared the dungeon yet. The man answered no, saying it was impossible. He told Sakura that no matter how strong they were, strength alone wasn't enough to clear this dungeon. Sakura and Maria continued onward. When they reached the 7th floor, they saw many people standing before a poison lake. Maria asked Sakura if that was really a poison lake. A girl standing nearby warned them to be careful, explaining that if they touched the lake, their bodies would gradually go numb, and eventually they wouldn't be able to move. Maria was surprised by the girl's knowledge. The girl also shared that about an hour ago, some idiot had jumped in without thinking. If it hadn't been for the girl with glasses helping him, he would have been dead long ago. The girl then asked if they could use detoxification magic. Both of them said no. The girl explained that in that case, it was impossible to cross the lake. Everyone, including her, was waiting for someone who could use detoxification magic, and they planned to pay that person for help. Maria then asked Sakura what they should do, since they couldn't use detoxification magic to get to the other side. Sakura replied that it wasn't a problem, as there were other ways to cross the lake without needing detoxification magic. Suddenly, Sakura swept Maria up into his arms. Embarrassed, she started shouting and telling him to stop because it was embarrassing. Sakura told her to hold on tight and started running toward the poison lake. Tense and scared, Maria asked if he was planning to jump across the lake, expressing her disbelief and telling him to wait. However, Sakura used his flying cloud magic and began to float in the air. Everyone around them was astonished by the sight, and Maria felt a little relieved. Sakura also told her to look down and see, but Maria angrily told him to shut up and said he should have explained before acting. Sakura laughed and apologized. Maria then told him not to use this as an excuse to touch her and to let her go already. Sakura replied that if he let her go now, she would fall into the lake and probably die. After they both reached the other side safely, Maria felt incredibly embarrassed. Thinking she couldn't believe someone who wasn't her boyfriend was holding her so tightly in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Sakura was also testing out his flying skill, and upon landing, he noticed a staircase leading to the 8th floor. Just then, Maria looked at him with an embarrassed expression. Sakura asked if something was wrong, stressing that they should try to get as far as possible. He also asked if she wanted to show her parents that she was the first one to clear the dungeon. Hearing this, Maria thought about telling her parents about the event. She replied that Sakura was right. She had to show her mom and dad. Sakura was confused, not understanding why she repeated exactly what he had just said. The scene changes to some time later, when Sakura and Maria have reached the 13th floor. Sakura was fighting and clearing out the monsters. He was happy that he had finally mastered the flying technique. Maria also praised him, but suddenly, a monster appeared from behind her, trying to launch a sneak attack. Sakura quickly saved her, patting her head gently and asking if she was okay. Maria cheerfully replied that she was fine and asked why so many monsters had suddenly appeared. Sakura explained that it was because she had pressed the button she saw earlier, a very strange-looking one. No matter how she looked at it, it was still very odd to Maria. With a confused look, she asked Sakura, "Aren't buttons supposed to be pressed?" Sakura fell silent at her question, not knowing how to respond to such naive logic. He asked if she was tired and suggested they take a short break. She teased that Sakura was so lazy, since she still had plenty of energy. Sakura then asked her to wait a few seconds and took out a tent from his small bag. Maria was shocked by Sakura's actions and his thorough preparation. He reassured her that he had plenty of food and clothes, so she could ask for anything she needed. Sakura emphasized that he would stand guard so she could sleep first. He even took out a chair and a towel, leaving Maria even more surprised and bewildered. Sakura asked her what was wrong. Maria asked about the bag, remarking that it seemed magical. Sakura suddenly realized he had never told her about the bag before. Upon learning about it, Maria expressed her desire to have one just like it. Sakura replied that the next time he found a similar bag, he would give it to her. Maria was delighted to hear that and smiled, asking if he was making a promise to her. Sakura replied that, yes, he was promising her. Maria happily crawled into the tent to sleep. Sakura thought to himself that it felt like he was babysitting. After a few minutes, as Sakura was sitting in the chair, Maria suddenly thanked him from inside the tent, noting that he had prepared everything from A to Z. Sakura was surprised and asked her incredulously if she actually knew how to say thank you. Maria angrily yelled that he was being very rude, but also complimented that his level 10 fire magic was amazing. Sakura asked why she was suddenly saying these things. Maria replied that his fire magic had saved them many times throughout the day, and compared it to the magic of Ketos from the Senku no Guren party, right? Suddenly, Maria heard a strange noise and woke up in a panic, asking Sakura what had happened and what that sound was. Sakura reassured her that there was nothing to worry about. He then asked why Maria knew about the Senku no Gurin party. Maria replied that it was obvious because in terms of both looks and power, they were currently the most famous party among young people. Sakura asked in surprise if there was really an exhibition for their merchandise. Maria also shared that she found their leader, Kamishiro, especially cool and expressed her desire to meet him one day. Sakura then mentioned that he had actually met them before, when he went on an adventure with them once, but he never expected them to become so famous. Maria thought Sakura was lying and teasing, playfully accusing him of being jealous and laughing out loud, remarking that Sakura had a cute side too. Sakura told her she was being too loud and advised her to go to sleep. He then recalled the time when he met them and one of them had asked if he wanted to team up with them for an adventure. Ever since that encounter, the feeling of freedom inside Sakura had been disturbed. The scene shifts to 7 months ago, at the S-rank dungeon, Shallow Serene, where Kamishiro asked Sakura if he had really been in the dungeon ever since leaving home, and suggested that he should think a little more seriously. Sakura looked at Kamishiro in confusion. Kamishiro asked if he had said something wrong. A girl named Nagasawa, standing next to Sakura, told Kamishiro that he should get used to it. Sakura looked at Kamishiro with pity. Suddenly, from behind, a boy named Kaido jumped on Sakura and remarked that being expelled from school, running away from home, and entering a dungeon proved Sakura must be very interesting. Seeing them, Nagasawa commented that she thought these two idiots were a perfect match. Meanwhile, Sakura was wondering what was wrong with everyone as he was lost in thought. A girl named Mizukawa tried to get Sakura's attention, and when he heard her voice, he turned to look. Mizukawa was startled and hid behind Nagasawa. She whispered something in Nagasawa's ear, and Nagasawa relayed that Mizukawa was asking Sakura if he was a solo player. Sakura asked in confusion what a solo player was. Nagasawa replied that if he didn't know, he shouldn't bother finding out. She explained that when exploring dungeons, there are 2 types of players, solo players and party players. The choice of how to play is up to the player, and even if someone forms a party, they don't necessarily have to register it. Nagasawa was about to say her party's name, but before she could, Sakura accidentally stepped on something, causing a horde of monsters to rush in and attack them. Sakura nervously apologized to everyone for stepping on that thing. Despite the interruption, they quickly defeated the horde of zombies in just a few seconds. Kamishiro revealed that their party's name was Senku no Guren. Sakura wondered about the meaning or significance of the name. Kamishiro explained that the party name was taken from the first letters of their last names, which he thought was very cool, and that he was the one who came up with the idea. Nagasawa chimed in, saying that it didn't really matter, but she and Mizukawa were the ones who actually came up with the name. She asked Kamishiro why he was lying about it. Kamishiro angrily asked Nagasawa why she would bring it up if it didn't matter. Nagasawa replied that she felt angry about it. Meanwhile, Sakura wondered why he didn't have to do anything at all. Suddenly, a monster bird swooped down on them, and Sakura quickly defeated it with a single kick. Immediately, Kamishiro and the others rushed over to Sakura, asking if he was okay. Kamishiro instructed Mizukawa to use her recovery magic. Mizukawa began to use her recovery magic, while Sakura was confused and wondered what was happening. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Sakura fainted, and the next moment he woke up, he found himself under a blanket. Kamishiro asked Sakura how he was feeling. Sakura was shocked and said that he thought he had passed out. Kamishiro explained that it was due to the poison from a monster called a poison bird, which has a poison gland in its head. Sakura asked in confusion how poison was involved. Kamishiro explained that the poison enters through the wound, causing gradual damage and eventually leading to death. Sakura asked in a panic why he was still alive. Kamishiro replied that Mizukawa had used her detoxification magic to remove all the poison. Kaido added from behind that while Sakura was sleeping, he had used his skill to bring him down to the 14th floor and told Sakura to say thanks. Sakura thanked Kaido. Kamishiro reminded Sakura not to forget to thank Mizukawa later. Sakura then asked what magic-related jobs might look like, if there was detoxification magic and recovery magic. Kaido asked Sakura about his skills and told him to show them. Upon checking, Kaido was shocked and exclaimed that Sakura had fire magic, ice magic, and even lightning magic. What's more, Sakura's fire magic level was even higher than his. Kaido was even more shocked to see that Sakura's level was 71. He started to walk off somewhere. Kamishiro asked where Kaido was going. Kaido yelled that he couldn't lose, so he was going off to level up. Kamishiro told Kaido not to shout since some people were sleeping. Kaido apologized. Sakura remarked that Kaido was a weird guy. Kamishiro asked who he was talking about. Sakura replied that he meant both of them. Kamishiro also checked Sakura's stats and noticed there were still 2 hours until their shift change. He suggested that they should talk for a while. After a few minutes of talking, Sakura asked if they were all in area school storage club and wondered why they were so skilled. Kamishiro then wondered how to explain to Sakura that being a player involved training, mental preparation, and earning money, making it more serious than just a hobby. For them, it was a lot of fun. In other words, exploring with friends brought them a lot of joy. Sakura asked if that was really true. Kamishiro replied that he didn't know when he'd stop finding someone interesting, as he found talking with Sakura to be very captivating. He also asked Sakura about his hobbies, mentioning that Kaido also seemed more interested than usual. Sakura was still hesitant. Kamishiro asked him if he found it fun. Sakura then recalled the moments they'd shared and the joy they had, but he still wasn't certain about his choice. A little later, they were all heading to the next floor. On the way, Sakura thanked Mizukawa. At first, Mizukawa was surprised and acted a bit strange, as if double-checking what Sakura had said. Sakura thanked Mizukawa again for helping him. For some reason, Mizukawa got flustered and blushed, saying she hadn't really done anything special. Sakura insisted that wasn't true, and that if it weren't for Mizukawa, he might have died. Mizukawa shared that she didn't have useful skills like the others, so helping out was all she could do. Sakura replied that nobody should think that way, because being able to save someone's life is a huge deal. He thanked her once more for saving him. She became even more flustered but accepted his thanks anyway. Nagasawa was happy to see them, but Kaido butted in, insisting that he deserved credit for saving Sakura. Nagasawa angrily told him to shut up. As they approached the stairs leading down to the next floor, Sakura sensed something and called out to Kamishiro. Kamishiro responded decisively, noting that the air felt unusually cold, which meant there was definitely a floor boss on the 15th floor. Hearing Nagasawa suggest a game of rock, paper, scissors, Kaido eagerly joined in. Seeing this, Sakura asked Mizukawa what that was all about. Mizukawa nervously replied that she didn't know. Nagasawa then explained that defeating the boss gives a ton of experience points, so they always use rock, paper, scissors to decide who gets to land the finishing blow and defeat it. Hearing this, Kaido told Nagasawa to wait, pointing out that Sakura couldn't join in because he was already level 71 and wasn't a member of their team. Nagasawa then asked Sakura if it was true that he was already level 71. To everyone's surprise, Mizukawa asked Kaido why Sakura couldn't participate, arguing that Sakura was their friend, and it wasn't right to leave a friend behind. Kaido felt the pressure and looked over at the others, who were all smiling in agreement with Mizukawa. Left with no other choice, he reluctantly agreed to let Sakura participate, but only because they were friends. And so, they all played rock, paper, scissors to decide who would get to take down the boss. The scene shifts to the 15th floor, where Kamishiro tells Kaido not to go on by himself because it's too dark. They were searching for the floor boss, but suddenly, it attacked Mizukawa. To save her, Sakura jumped in and took the attack. Everyone was shocked to see this, but Sakura shouted for them to stay back and quickly asked if the attack had poison in it. Kaido then moved in and punched the monster, surprising Sakura that he had intervened. Sakura hesitated, and Kaido asked if he was planning to handle it, implying that Sakura didn't need to get involved and should just stand back. He also told Sakura to watch how fast he would take down the boss. Mizukawa started healing Sakura, while Kamishiro asked if he was okay. Sakura replied that something more dangerous might be happening, noting that after being hit by the floor boss, his HP had dropped by half, likely because of some special effect. Sakura also mentioned that Kaido was only level 24. Suddenly, Nagasawa saw something and screamed Kaido's name. When Kamishiro looked over, he saw Kaido losing the fight and getting bitten twice by the floor boss, named Two-Tail. Kaido's HP dropped by 75%. Meanwhile, Kamishiro and Nagasawa rushed in to help Kaido and began fighting the boss. Meanwhile, Sakura told Mizukawa to go help Kaido, saying that he was all right. While Nagasawa and Kamishiro were fighting the boss, Mizukawa healed Kaido. Kaido was furious with himself for being so careless and told Mizukawa to run, seeing that the boss was going to continue attacking him. Just as the floor boss charged toward Mizukawa and Kaido to attack, there was nothing anyone could do. But then, Sakura used his lightning magic skill and defeated the floor boss. Sakura leveled up 20 times. Everyone was stunned by what just happened, but they were even more surprised when Kaido got up and walked over to Sakura. Sakura tried to ask if he was okay, but Kaido suddenly punched him. Everyone around them was shocked as well, and Nagasawa asked Kaido why he did that. Kaido angrily told her to be quiet and demanded that Sakura explain why he stole his kill. Hearing this, Sakura was surprised and asked how Kaido could say something like that in a situation like this. Kaido then turned and walked away, heading onward. Nagasawa also asked what was wrong with Kaido for him to act that way after Sakura had just saved him. Kamishiro also apologized to Sakura, saying he never expected Kaido to behave like that. Sakura replied that he had already predicted this would happen. He got up, thanked everyone, and said he was going to head back first. They tried to stop him, but Sakura decided that from now on, he wouldn't party up with anyone anymore. Just then, Sakura heard someone calling his name over and over. The scene cuts back to the present, where Sakura wakes up, revealing it was all a dream about his past. Maria asks Sakura how he could have dozed off while on watch. Just then, Sakura noticed Maria had changed her clothes and told her they looked great on her. Maria pouted, finding his remark annoying. Sakura then asked where the clothes came from. As he didn't remember buying them, Maria replied that she had just altered the clothes he'd given her. Sakura turned around and saw the tent was folded back to its original state. He wondered how something he'd found too complicated to even set up, so he just stored it in his bag, could be folded so easily by Maria. Sakura praised Maria, saying it was impressive how good she was with domestic chores. Maria replied that she was happy for the compliment, but remarked that it was hardly a surprise. After that, the two continued to advance through each floor, clearing them one by one. Now, they were on the 19th floor, but somehow, they had gotten lost. Sakura smiled and remarked that this was the first time he'd encountered a dungeon that looked like a maze. Maria, confused, asked why he was smiling. He explained that in a maze, if you just place your hand on a wall and follow it, you'll eventually find the exit. Maria, surprised, asked if that was really true and why it worked like that. Suddenly, Maria heard some sounds and told Sakura she could hear someone talking from that direction. Sakura sensed it too and thought that there really was someone there, making the situation feel like a scene from a horror movie. Hearing that, Maria got even more scared and yelled at him not to say things like that because it was too frightening. Sakura apologized for his comment. Suddenly, Nagasawa and the others appeared. Seeing Sakura, Nagasawa was delighted and greeted him, saying it had been a long time since they'd last met. In the past, Maria had watched a TV program about the Senku no Guren team, and her secretary had mentioned that Maria's father praised their skills. Inspired by this, Maria decided to become like them and strive to be an outstanding player. The others were surprised to see Sakura, and Kamishiro thought it was quite a coincidence. Nagasawa then asked Sakura who the girl next to him was, wondering if she was his girlfriend. Meanwhile, an excited Maria shook Sakura vigorously and exclaimed that this was the Senku no Gurin team she'd seen on TV. Sakura told her to stop, saying he already knew. Maria then shared details about each team member, starting with Kaido, who possessed unique strength and used power-enhancing skills to heroically defeat enemies like a warrior. Second, Nagasawa was described as someone who toyed with enemies using swift and beautiful swordsmanship, which was both impressive and graceful. Third, Mizukawa stood out with her diverse skill set, always supporting and helping the team achieve victory. Finally, there was Kamishiro, but Maria confessed she didn't know much about him. Kamishiro looked at Maria and asked who she was. Maria blushed and backed away, grabbing onto Sakura in her embarrassment after making eye contact with him. Sakura apologized on Maria's behalf, explaining that she was their biggest fan. Nagasawa then approached Maria, saying how cute that was, and asked for her name. Maria stood frozen in shock that Nagasawa had called her cute. Suddenly, Mizukawa remembered something and asked Maria if she was a professional model from a famous magazine. Sakura was surprised to learn that Maria was a model. Maria confirmed it, expressing how honored she was that Mizukawa knew her name. Sakura now understood why Maria had asked him if there were any benefits to partnering with her. Kamishiro asked what a model like Maria was doing with Sakura. Sakura replied that he and Maria had met at the dungeon entrance and had temporarily teamed up to help her. Hearing this, Nagasawa suggested that Sakura team up with them again. Both Kaido and Sakura were shocked to hear this proposal. Maria was overjoyed and asked Nagasawa to confirm if she was serious. Sakura decided to team up for Maria's sake, as he had promised her, all while remembering Kaido's last punch. Sakura hoped that everyone could support them. Kaido responded indifferently, telling them to just do whatever they wanted. Nagasawa was delighted and invited Maria to join them. As they continued forward, Sakura observed everyone on the team and thought about how all the members were famous. Maria was a model, and the others were talented players. In contrast, he felt happy that he wouldn't attract too much attention. Meanwhile, Nagasawa got an idea and whispered something to Kamishiro. Afterwards, Kamishiro approached Maria and offered her a handshake. Maria happily accepted, taking his hand and smiling. Nagasawa was happy to see them getting along. But then, a monster appeared, and Sakura took it down with a single punch. Kaido remained visibly angry throughout dinner. During the meal, Mizukawa's hand accidentally brushed against Sakura's, making her blush and causing Sakura to get tense as well. Everyone burst out laughing at the situation, and they all enjoyed a fun time together. The scene then shifts to some time later, on the 20th floor of the Red Shadow Dungeon. Upon seeing the floor boss, Kaido warned everyone not to touch it under any circumstances. Sakura replied that if Kaido's life was in danger, he would step in to help. But Kaido yelled back, adamantly telling Sakura not to even think about interfering. Kamishiro told Nagasawa to be ready to support Kaido when needed, and had Mizukawa on standby with her healing magic. He also instructed Maria to fall back. They then began the battle with the floor boss, as Kaido engaged it in combat. Kamishiro apologized to Sakura, stating he knew Sakura could have easily defeated the boss if they hadn't joined forces. Sakura looked at Kamishiro, confused. Kamishiro replied that it was nothing, and acknowledged that the battle had ended with Kaido's victory. Sakura then expressed that while he wanted to fight the boss and act freely, he didn't know what else to say about it. Sakura wondered about the real reason behind his desire to seek freedom. Even though he himself wasn't truly free, he told everyone that it was strange but interesting. Suddenly, a strange explosion occurred and smoke filled the area. When the smoke cleared, Sakura was horrified to see everyone lying unconscious on the ground. It was the work of the floor boss named Nine Tails. Sakura became enraged, feeling as if he were being forced down a path he didn't choose, and this unjust loss of freedom was unforgivable to him. The scene shifts to outside the dungeon, where dungeon reporter Takota Koko is broadcasting live. She announced that a large crowd was gathering at the H-rank dungeon in Okinawa Prefecture. Furthermore, according to some sources, Takoda's early reporting had attracted significant interest from young people, as the Senku no Guren team was also inside the dungeon. Unexpectedly, she forgot she was live on air and started expressing her excitement about getting their autographs when they returned and possibly landing an interview. Realizing her mistake, she quickly returned to her live broadcast. She went on to ask the crowd if 5 days had passed since the government announced the reward, wondering if anyone would emerge to conquer the dungeon. The scene cuts back to Sakura, who is trying to punch the Nine-Tails monster, but to no effect. Suddenly, he noticed Mizukawa had sat up and seemed okay, so he rushed over to ask if she was all right. Mizukawa, looking stunned, asked what had happened as she realized everyone had been defeated, a fact that was both painful and shocking. Sakura placed a hand on her shoulder and explained that everyone was badly injured by Nine-Tails' power burst, but Mizukawa had likely avoided the worst of it by being behind him. He then asked her to use her healing abilities to save everyone, as she was the only one who could do it. As the Nine-Tails monster charged to attack from behind again, Sakura used ice magic to counter, but Nine-Tails easily melted his ice attack with a single blow. Sakura then told Mizukawa to take care of everyone while he prepared to fight. Mizukawa was worried about him, but Sakura reassured her not to worry and reminded her to save everyone. He proceeded to use a fire magic skill to attack, but once again Nine-Tails easily blocked the blow. Sakura wondered if it wasn't just physical and ice attacks, but fire attacks were also ineffective. He speculated that it was probably because Nine-Tails' body was inherently made of fire. Sakura then used cloud magic to fly into the air and launched a lightning magic attack, seeing it as his last hope. However, Nine-Tails easily defended against it and deflected the lightning strike back at Sakura. Just then, memories of his school days flashed through his mind, reminding him of a time he couldn't see something through to the end. Sakura angrily recalled the sight of flowers placed in his shoes, demanding to know who was responsible. Sakuraba had mocked him, saying Sakura shouldn't even come to school because if he were in Sakura's shoes, he probably wouldn't have the guts to live anymore. Enraged, Sakura threw his bag in Sakuraba's face, which led to Sakuraba's group beating him up. Sakura admitted that he couldn't do anything back then, and that if he had just been able to stop Sakuraba, maybe his classmates and teachers would have stood by him, and maybe he'd still be in school. But regardless, Sakura realized that being haunted by Sakuraba's group and what they did wasn't worth it anymore, because he had found a place he never wanted to lose. Cutting back to the present, Sakura resolved that if one blow wasn't enough, he would use a continuous combo to face the challenges ahead. Suddenly, Maria screamed his name. Sakura was overjoyed to see her. Maria yelled that he didn't need to be so tense because he was the strongest one there. Sakura then unleashed a continuous barrage of lightning attacks on the Nine-Tails, taunting that it was a shame for the creature because they weren't even in the same league. Sakura wondered if this time could be different from that moment he felt so helpless, determined to protect the things he couldn't bear to lose. Finally, the Nine-Tails monster was defeated, and Sakura leveled up 417 times. After the victory, Maria began to celebrate as everyone else slowly regained consciousness. Sakura said he was just relieved everyone was safe. Kamishiro told him it was all thanks to him, that they would have been helpless without him. Mizukawa also praised Sakura's strength, and Maria just kept chanting about how powerful he was. Then Kaido called out to Sakura, declaring that he wouldn't lose to him next time, while also apologizing for their previous clash. Mizukawa told Kaido to speak up, and Kaido retorted that if they had enough energy to be loud, they should use it to recover and get going. Mizukawa then pointed out that he was the one being louder than normal. Kamishiro announced that they had finally conquered the H-rank dungeon. As they all emerged from the dungeon, the crowd erupted in cheers, shouting that the Senku no Guren party had returned. Sakura then handed them something, and Kamishiro asked what it was. Sakura replied that it was the item drop from the Nine-Tails and explained it was proof of their victory over it. He offered it to them as a memento. In return, Sakura asked them to announce to the world that the 5 of them had cleared the dungeon, without him. Kamishiro wondered how they could possibly agree to that, but Sakura urged them to accept, as he didn't want to draw the world's attention. Kamishiro then announced that the H-rank dungeon had been conquered by the Senku no Gurin party, with the help of Maria. Hearing this, the crowd began to praise and cheer for Maria, admiring both her cuteness and her power. Meanwhile, Kamishiro turned back to Sakura and asked if he was sure this was what he wanted. Sakura said yes and told them it was time for him to head home. They were surprised and asked why so soon. Mizukawa told him he should hang out with them for a while. Sakura smiled and said he would, but next time. Mizukawa then said she'd hold him to that. Finally, Kamishiro told Sakura that they would always welcome him with open arms, not just as a party member, but as a friend. After that, Sakura headed home, looking down at his hands repeatedly along the way. At that moment, Sakura thought that it wasn't just about his level. He could get even stronger depending on how he used his skills. He also realized he'd never thought about combining skills to create different combos, which opened up a rich variety of strategies. He found the idea fascinating. Suddenly, Maria called out to him from behind. When Sakura turned around, he saw her running towards him. He asked her what was up. Maria asked in surprise what he meant by that, because they needed to go tell his parents about their victory. Sakura, confused, asked why, saying that just one of them going should be enough. Maria asked sadly how he could say such a thing, insisting they should go together. He repeated that he thought one person would be fine. Maria suddenly leaped up and hugged him tightly. Startled, Sakura asked why she was hugging him so hard. Maria happily replied that they had adventured, talked, eaten, and fought together, and that there were so many things she still didn't know. She also said that while she was always happy being surrounded by her parents' love, she knew there was a world of wonders waiting outside. She believed that if it was with him, everyone would understand, so Sakura didn't need to worry and they should go tell his parents together. Sakura, still completely lost, asked what on earth she was talking about. Then he remembered his own past and told Maria she was an amazing person. He confessed that, to be honest, he'd had a fight with his parents 8 months ago and hadn't been back home since. However, he was still their son, and he knew it wasn't right if he didn't apologize to them properly. Maria thought for a moment and replied that she would have hated him too if he were the type of person who didn't love their parents. Maria said that when Sakura becomes a true gentleman worthy of her, they will meet again. Sakura smiled, said his goodbyes, and agreed that they would. She proudly declared that they were the strongest party, after all. Sakura laughed, shook her hand, and agreed. The scene then shifts to Morioka Prefecture, at Sakura's house. He had let his mother know he was coming, so the moment he opened the door, she ran to him, hugged him tightly, and burst into tears. His mother welcomed him home, calling him a big idiot. Sakura stepped inside and greeted his father, who hesitated slightly before welcoming him back. Seeing this, Sakura felt happy tears welling up in his eyes. And so, Sakura's 8 months of loneliness came to an end. But the life of a player doesn't stop there. He talked with his parents and expressed his determination to become a professional player. Afterwards, he wondered where to go next and decided that since he'd cleared an H rank, the next logical step was G rank. Sakura told his parents he was heading out, but as soon as he opened the door, Maria was standing right there, about to ring the bell. Seeing him, she wished him a good morning. Flustered by the unexpected meeting, Sakura felt a wave of panic and quickly slammed the door shut. Maria got angry at his reaction. Finally, Sakura stepped back outside and realized that Nagasawa and Mizukawa had come along with Maria. They both wished him a good morning and reminded him of his promise. About a next time in Okinawa, they emphasized that next time was finally here. Nagasawa also mentioned that Maria had told them she was going home next week, so this was also a sort of farewell party for her. Mizukawa shyly apologized for interrupting. Sakura replied that he was planning on clearing a dungeon. Nagasawa laughed and asked why that was all he cared about. saying he needed to live a little and enjoy his youth. Sakura retorted that he believed dungeon crawling was part of enjoying his youth. Nagasawa got angry, wondering what was wrong with him. Maria then asked Sakura if they could all go to the dungeon together after their outing. After thinking for a few seconds, Sakura finally agreed to join them. Hearing this, they all began to celebrate. Sakura then asked Maria how she found out his address. She replied mysteriously, saying there are some things he's better off not knowing. Sakura felt a chill run down his spine at her response, finding it genuinely creepy. The scene shifts to a shopping mall where Maria tells Sakura that he's always wearing old clothes. As a professional model, she offers to pick out a new outfit for him. Sakura is at a loss for words. Suddenly, he remembers something and asks Maria if she hadn't said they wouldn't see each other for a while when they said their goodbyes. Maria replies that she thought he would be sad. So she reminds him again to relax and enjoy the moment. Sakura thinks she's right. Since he's with them, he might as well relax and have fun. Maria picks out a t-shirt for Sakura, which shocks Nagasawa because she doesn't like it. However, Sakura compliments Maria on her great choice. The scene shifts to the Yumuno Aquarium, where Maria cheerfully runs inside, shouting about how much she loves aquariums. Nagasawa asked Maria to wait up, saying this aquarium is a bit small compared to the one back home, but she still wants to see the penguins. She calls out for Maria to wait because she's coming too. Mizukawa laughs and remarks that Maria is really having a great time. Sakura then asks Mizukawa if it was her idea to visit the aquarium and asks what she wanted to see. The scene shifts inside the aquarium, near the jellyfish exhibit. Here, Sakura asks Mizukawa if this means she likes jellyfish. Mizukawa nods, saying that jellyfish are so mysterious and mystical. She also mentions that some types of jellyfish are kept as pets, and even shares that there's a World Jellyfish Museum that displays rare species. Suddenly, she starts running towards it, calling for them both to go and see. After leaving the museum, Sakura says that he had a lot of fun. Mizukawa replies that she had fun too, especially getting to see the rare jellyfish, and that spending time with him made her very happy. All of a sudden, Sakura remembers and says he almost forgot. He brought a gift for her. Mizukawa is surprised and asks why. Sakura confirms, suggesting she keep it as a souvenir, and mentions that he has a gift for the others as well. Mizukawa joyfully replies with happy tears, thanking Sakura and saying she will treasure the gift for the rest of her life. Sakura laughs and says that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration, wondering to himself if he really just picked it up by chance while looking at a t-shirt. Sakura then asks where the other two are. Mizukawa replies that she hasn't seen them yet. Just then, Mizukawa gets a call from Nagasawa. On the call, Nagasawa screams urgently, telling Mizukawa to come quickly because she's the only one who can save her. As it turns out, Nagasawa is scared of thrill rides, and Maria is trying to convince her to go on one. Sakura and Mizukawa are surprised to learn about Nagasawa and Maria's likes and dislikes. The scene then shifts to a later time, where Nagasawa is talking with Sakura. Nagasawa is tired of Maria, and Sakura is also surprised to see that Maria and Mizukawa are both very good at playing thrill rides. Nagasawa suggests that Sakura should split the rewards from the Red Ball dungeon evenly. Sakura feels a bit pressured because she keeps asking, but he assures her he has no problem with it. Nagasawa replies that she still feels uncomfortable about it. Sakura explains that since he cleared the dungeon, he has the right to decide, and he thinks it's reasonable because a man only needs a certain amount of money to live without struggling. He also says he just wants to enjoy his time in the dungeon. Sakura then asks Nagasawa if the Senku no Gurin team has any plans. She confirms they have a goal, which is also everyone's goal, the dreaded Orank dungeon. The Mountain of Dread dungeon, also known as the Final Dungeon. Hearing the name, Sakura wonders if it's that dungeon, the terrifying mountain that looms near Lake Usuri in Aomori Prefecture, famous for being a terrifying dungeon. He shares that he went there 2 months ago, but the gate was sealed shut and wouldn't budge no matter how hard he punched it. The atmosphere there was heavy and cold. with no sign or feeling of life at all. Sakura asks a few more things, but Nagasawa suddenly cuts him off, saying they shouldn't talk about dungeons when they're having fun. Now, Sakura has to make up for it by buying some drinks. Sakura is confused and asks why, since Nagasawa was the one who brought up everything about the dungeon in the first place. Nevertheless, he still goes to get the drinks. And when he returns, he is surprised to see two boys asking Nagasawa if she wants to hang out with them. Seeing Sakura, Nagasawa runs towards him and asks why he took so long. Both boys are shocked to realize that she was waiting for her boyfriend. Nagasawa tells Sakura that these two were bothering her while he was being slow. Sakura confusedly asks if they weren't her friends. Nagasawa irritably asks Sakura what part of them looks like her friends. Suddenly, one of the boys steps forward angrily, shouting that he heard Nagasawa call them creeps, demanding to know how she dared to say that. Nagasawa retorts that they're idiots and are dressed like morons in those freaky shirts. The boy yells back that they are the strongest YouTubers with famous brothers, and now she has to pay for bad-mouthing them. They boast that they are both at level 99, so she has some time to apologize before they take action. Sakura feels tense inside, scoffing at their emphasis on levels, as he considers himself to be at level 20,000. The boys, known as the Akura brothers, laugh again and insist that Nagasawa apologize, or else face the consequences. Lin and Tin, the two brothers, are live streaming with the help of a friend. Lin says it's a popular trend for players to fight each other to gain fame, and they're famous for their unrivaled 38-game winning streak. Lin then tells Sakura and Nagasawa they should record a battle with them as compensation. Despite being rejected multiple times and having his favorite t-shirt insulted, he feels lucky to have met Nagasawa from the Senku no Guren team and her boyfriend. Hearing this, both Sakura and Nagasawa shout in unison that they are not a couple. Lin then reassures them not to worry, saying that even if they get hurt, their excellent team can easily heal them with level 8 recovery magic. Nagasawa angrily retorts that Lin is the one who should be worried. Lin says there's no way he's gonna lose. Nagasawa angrily asks why Lin is boasting so much. Lin replies that the starting stats appear when the level system is first activated, and it represents the user's physical strength, which is different from others. Sakura wonders if Lin is right, since he also had very low stats from the beginning. Lin then asks them to take a look, pointing out that both brothers have much higher strength. So even if Sakura and Nagasawa were at level 99, they still couldn't defeat the two Akura brothers. Hearing this, Nagasawa becomes furious and yells at the Akura brothers, telling them to stop talking and come at her. She calls them creeps again. Sakura tries to calm Nagasawa down, saying they have no reason to fight those brothers. Nagasawa replies that those guys are getting on her nerves, and Sakura can stand aside and just watch if he wants. Sakura then asks Nagasawa about her level and weapon. Nagasawa replies that she's at level 94 and her weapon is a sword. Sakura then shares that he doesn't really want to fight, but he will take her place. Nagasawa is surprised and asks why. Sakura asks how she could possibly fight someone with higher stats at level 94, especially when she can't even slash them. Nagasawa agrees but warns Sakura that if he loses, she will kill him. Sakura smiles and replies with an okay, confident that there is no chance he will lose. Lin then asks his team to get ready to start recording, and the match begins. Lin rushes towards Sakura and kicks him, but Sakura blocks the blow with his hand. Seeing this, Lin laughs and asks Sakura if it hurts, suggesting he should try blocking his attack again. Seeing that Sakura has no reaction, Lin becomes even angrier and shouts, asking if Sakura can block the next blow. Sakura starts to feel bored because Lin talks too much. Lin continues to attack Sakura with punches, but Sakura easily dodges every single attack. Seeing the speed of Lin's punches, Nagasawa was surprised, and Tin even boasted that no one had ever remained standing after taking Lin's barrage of punches. Unexpectedly, Lin grew tense as none of his punches could land on Sakura. Suddenly, Sakura landed a powerful punch on Lin, sending him flying through the air. Everyone was shocked by the power of the punch. However, Sakura became tense, worried that he might have accidentally used all his strength. Tin shouted that there was no way Lin could lose, suggesting that Sakura must have used some kind of magic trick. An enraged Tin used both hands to cast wind magic at Sakura. Seeing this, Sakura jumped up to dodge. While in the air, he wondered if, like with recovery magic, one could use both hands to support themselves and stabilize a spell being cast. He decided he needed to talk to Maria about this. Suddenly, Sakura realized Nagasawa was standing behind him, and the wind magic was about to hit her. Sakura quickly ran towards Nagasawa and lifted her onto his shoulder to save her. Tin was surprised to see Sakura and Nagasawa dodge so easily, realizing that he had lost. Unexpectedly, a dolphin doll flew over and hit Tin in the face, knocking him unconscious. Sakura then asked Nagasawa if she was all right, realizing that he had instinctively dodged to protect her, without even knowing she was standing right behind him. At that moment, Nagasawa suddenly blushed for some reason, but quickly regained her composure. She asked Sakura if the stuffed bear he had just thrown was a gift for Maria. Realizing his mistake, Sakura felt tense. The scene then shifts to a later time, where Mizukawa and Maria are surprised to see the Tsuchikura brothers sitting and talking with Sakura. Mizukawa confusedly asked Nagasawa if they were her friends. Nagasawa angrily asked Mizukawa from what point of view she would ever consider them her friends. She then turned to the Tsuchikura brothers and asked how long they planned to stay. The truth was, both of them were terrified of Sakura and admitted they would follow his orders for the rest of their lives. They apologized to everyone and then left. Nagasawa, feeling exhausted from everything that had happened, suggested that they should head home now. Both Mizukawa and Maria agreed. But Sakura angrily told them to wait a minute because they still had to go into a dungeon. He asked if they were coming with him. Maria cheerfully agreed, saying that Sakura was right and that it would be a lot of fun. Mizukawa also replied that if everyone else agreed, she had no problem with it. Sakura then asked Nagasawa for her decision. But seeing her expression, Sakura figured she felt she had no other choice and was already prepared to go home the next day. He looked at his phone and felt tense when he saw that the video of his fight with the Tsuchikura brothers had gone viral with 800,000 views. Sakura was stunned to realize how famous the Tsuchikura brothers were, but was also angry that they had filmed him without permission. Just then, Sakura received a call from Kamishiro. At first, he was surprised that Kamishiro was calling him, but then he remembered that they had exchanged phone numbers in Okinawa. Kamishiro greeted Sakura and mentioned that he had seen the video of the Tsuchikura brothers. Sakura responded by expressing his frustration, saying he was really unlucky because he didn't want to attract attention or anything like that. Kamishiro then directly asked Sakura what level he was currently at. Sakura was stunned and asked him to repeat that. Kamishiro clarified that he wanted to challenge Sakura to a one-on-one match, as he believed he could defeat him. The scene shifts to a few days later, on the 20th floor of the G-rank Blue Cave dungeon, where Sakura is fighting dragons. As he was taking them down, suddenly, higher-level dragons approached and began to attack Sakura. He felt thrilled, because the most exciting part of the battle had begun. Little by little, he took down each dragon, and his level was also rising. The scene then flashes back to what really happened when Kamishiro and Sakura last spoke. Kamishiro mentioned that ever since they first met, Sakura had shown him his status screen, revealing skills with 1,000 times experience points and the ability to level up infinitely. Kamishiro shared that at the time he found it a bit funny, but now, after learning the limits of leveling and witnessing Sakura's battle with the Ninetales, as well as his victory against the Tsuchikura brothers, Kamishiro believes that Sakura has far surpassed level 99. At that point, Sakura didn't understand Kamishiro's intentions. He tensely asked why Kamishiro wanted to fight and what the purpose of it was. Kamishiro laughed and told Sakura that he knew there was no reason for him. But he himself had always achieved everything he wanted and needed with ease. Kamishiro believed he stood above everyone, both before and after the leveling system appeared, right up until Sakura came along. Therefore, he wanted to put forth all his strength to try and surpass Sakura. Sakura felt tense, not knowing what to say or do at that moment. Kamishiro continued, adding that he didn't mean they would fight right this instant, as he knew Sakura had his own life, so whenever it was convenient for Sakura, he would be ready to fight. The scene then returns to the present, where Sakura is looking at his status screen and sees that he has reached level 23,011. At that moment, Sakura wondered if Kamishiro was right, that even if he wanted to, he wouldn't know how to defeat such an opponent. Suddenly, something fell from above. It was a girl. She cried out in pain as she landed, startling Sakura and causing him to turn and check on her. Seeing the girl, Sakura was surprised when she stood up and ran towards him, cheerfully asking if he was Sakura. Sakura, surprised, asked how she knew his name. The girl replied that she had seen the video of the Tsuchikura brothers and thought he was very cool. She also asked if he was the one who had defeated the dragon monsters. Sakura confirmed with a nod. Excited to hear this, the girl moved closer to him, then introduced herself as Iso Miki and thanked Sakura for saving her. Sakura replied that he didn't remember saving her. Iso explained that she had been swallowed by a monster, and if Sakura hadn't defeated them, she would have been trapped there for the rest of her life. Hearing this, Sakura became tense, wondering if there was something wrong with her or if she had taken some kind of drug to be acting so strangely. Suddenly, he realized that there was another person beside him, without any equipment or weapons. Sakura kept staring at her, lost in thought, which made her think he was playing a staring game. She began to stare back, thinking it was a show of confidence. When she looked him straight in the eyes, Sakura felt tense and turned his head away. Iso then celebrated her moment, smiling and saying that she had never lost at this game. She reminded Sakura of their promise, that the loser would have to pay for hamburgers. Sakura protested that he had never agreed to any such promise and asked if she had been in the dungeon alone, since he hadn't seen anyone else. Iso replied that she had and said she was exploring by herself. Sakura was stunned to hear this, wondering if it was even possible to reach the 20th floor of a G-rank dungeon alone without any equipment or weapons, unless she also had the ability to level up infinitely. Sakura then asked her what level she was currently at. After checking, Iso answered that she was at level 22. She also said that she knew it was a bit embarrassing, but she was only 18 years old. Sakura exclaimed that it was impossible because she would die in a G-rank dungeon if she was only at level 22. A confused Iso asked Sakura why he thought she was lying and invited him to check her equipment for confirmation. While they were talking, a dragon monster suddenly appeared, snatched Iso in its mouth, and flew away. Sakura was horrified, but realized that if Iso was really at level 22 and had managed to reach the 20th floor, he needed to understand what was going on. He watched the dragon toying with Iso, tossing her into the air and breathing fire at her. Sakura decided to use his cloud magic to save Iso from the dragon. After rescuing her, he was surprised to see that Iso had no signs of wounds or injuries. He wondered just what kind of person she was. Meanwhile, Iso smiled happily, pointing out that they were holding hands. After saving Iso, Sakura asked if she was okay. Iso replied that she was fine. He then asked again how she could possibly be okay after everything she'd just been through. Iso burst out laughing at his question and replied that it was obviously because he had saved her. Sakura clarified that he wasn't just talking about being rescued, but about how she managed to withstand fire and being swallowed by a dragon without a single scratch. Iso smiled and explained that it was thanks to her special abilities that she'd never told anyone about. Seeing her abilities, Sakura was stunned to realize that she had a nullification skill, meaning all attacks against her were rendered useless. Iso agreed with Sakura's assessment. understanding that she was practically unbeatable. Suddenly, Iso started asking Sakura to try and kill her. Sakura initially refused, saying he wouldn't do that. However, she persisted, asking repeatedly while moving in closer to him. Finally, seeing her beautiful face so close, Sakura reluctantly agreed. He asked her to take a step back. Then he tapped her forehead lightly with his finger, causing a massive impact on the environment around her. Sakura was amazed to see that nothing had happened to her at all. Seeing his reaction, Iso asked if he found it interesting how a protective barrier formed and enveloped her entire body, nullifying any attack. Sakura was impressed with the skill, but he also advised Iso that he believed low-level players should choose dungeons more suited to their gear and abilities. Iso replied that what Sakura said was true, but she wanted to earn a lot of money. Sakura was surprised and asked why she needed money. Iso explained that she'd been told if she just tried and got rare items from high-level dungeons, she would get paid well. Sakura was confused and surprised since Iso didn't seem like the type to be driven by money. After looking at her for a few more seconds, he said it was time for him to head to the next floor. Hearing this, Iso announced that she would go with Sakura and that they should help each other along the way. Sakura felt stressed, wondering why, even with Iso's unbeatable skill set, he couldn't feel at ease. He was also worried that a situation like before could happen again. After a while, Iso found herself surrounded by monster lizards, which were licking her from both sides. She nervously called out to Sakura for help. Sakura knew something like this was bound to happen. Iso shared that her vision was blurring as the monsters surrounded her, her body feeling weak and unable to move. Sakura responded that the monster's name suggested it was probably poison. He realized Iso couldn't avoid status effects or attacks that altered her physical condition. After he finally defeated the monster lizards, she was saved. But he quickly realized she was poisoned and couldn't move. So, Sakura fed her some detoxifying herbs. The entire time, Sakura wondered if he was treating Iso like a pet. After she regained her mobility, Iso thanked Sakura for his help. Sakura replied that it was nothing, but he still believed she should choose lower-level dungeons to level up safely. Iso smiled and firmly objected, explaining that she needed to earn a lot of money quickly, which she couldn't do in low-level dungeons. Sakura tried once more to make her see the danger, but this time Iso spoke up, saying that she needed to pay off a debt. Hearing this, Sakura fell silent for a few seconds. Iso explained that their parents had passed away, leaving behind a huge debt that she and her older sister had to manage together. They weren't financially well off. Her sister was trying to pay off the debt while also supporting Iso through school and giving her spending money. It showed that Iso's sister was a true caregiver, always putting Iso's needs before her own. Iso continued, explaining that's why she wanted to earn money and pay off the debt with her sister. Partly so their parents could rest in peace, and partly so her beloved sister could finally have a chance to enjoy her own life. She smiled again and asked if she was talking too much, admitting that she didn't know why, but she felt like she wanted to tell Sakura everything. At that moment, Sakura was moved, recalling Iso's words about her parents. He saw Iso was about to leave, but as she moved forward, Sakura grabbed her hand and asked her to wait. Iso became overjoyed and asked him what was wrong. Sakura replied that it was nothing, and apologized if he had made her uncomfortable. He then hesitantly said that if she didn't mind, he'd like to help her clear the dungeon, whether by helping her level up or by clearing it together. Iso looked at Sakura with wide, surprised eyes. At that point, Sakura realized his words had come out all jumbled and apologized, telling Iso to just forget what he said. Iso grabbed his hand and assured him that she would never forget his offer of help, so he had to keep supporting her. Sakura wondered if he'd ever refused her in the first place, but figured it was Iso's determination that made him agree. Soon, he realized the main reason was that it was simply too dangerous to leave Iso on her own. Iso mentioned it felt like having a little brother, which made Sakura think she saw herself as an unreliable older sister. Iso then shared that it was lonely going by herself, but being with Sakura, who was at level 20,000, was very reassuring. Upon hearing this, Sakura looked completely shocked, his expression changing in an instant. Iso got nervous, wondering what had happened. Sakura began to sweat nervously, trying to figure out how on earth Iso knew his level. Meanwhile, Iso kept trying to snap Sakura out of it, as he seemed lost in thought and wasn't listening to her. Sakura tensely asked how she knew his level. Iso replied that she'd accidentally seen it when she fell down, and that's how she knew he was really strong. Sakura felt slightly relieved, but was still worried that he had accidentally let that information slip. Iso then declared that she would do her best to reach level 20,000 too. Sakura responded that level 99 was the limit. Hearing this, Iso was stunned and asked how he managed to break past it. Sakura grew tense, thinking he should have kept his mouth shut, but then wondered if it wasn't common knowledge, since she had already seen it. Sakura explained everything and asked her to keep it a secret. Iso responded with an assenting nod. The scene then shifts to the 22nd floor, where the monster was a goblin that only knew how to shoot fireballs at them. Iso was scared, but Sakura told her not to worry, since it seemed the goblin only had one attack. He encouraged Iso to give it a shot and defeat the goblin herself. Iso prepared for battle and ran toward the goblin to attack. Seeing that its attacks couldn't harm her, the goblin grew scared. Sakura decided he would step in if necessary. After an hour, Iso finally defeated the goblin and leveled up to 13. During that time, Sakura was sitting and eating. He praised her, saying she did a great job. He thought to himself that he hadn't expected her to be able to do it on her own, but considering her damage immunity, it compensated for her low attack power. She was guaranteed to win in a battle of attrition. Sakura then asked her, "Like I said, I was going to step in if you needed me, but it doesn't seem like you did, right?" Iso replied, "What are you talking about? I absolutely need you, Sakura." When she was alone, all she could do was run and hide. It was only because Sakura was with her that she had the courage to even try fighting. Sakura then looked at the item she was holding and asked what it was. Iso replied that it was an item drop, and that having a good weapon meant it was time to press forward. After that, she steadily cleared up to the 30th floor and acquired the Flash Magic skill, along with 1/10 of the necessary experience points. Back in the present, Sakura and Iso had collected 5 more item drops: Ex Machina, Exodia, Gargantua, Dragon Mail, and a Stone Bomb. Sakura mentioned that it was the first time she'd seen these items, so she didn't know their effects, but she was confident that the stone bomb would work exactly as its name implied. Iso was thrilled, thinking these items could be sold for a good amount of money. Sakura was also pleased, hoping that Iso would be able to pay off her debts with the proceeds. On the 60th floor, Sakura faced snake monsters and hesitated for a moment. However, when the image of her older sister's face flashed in her mind, she became determined to defeat them. After the battle, she leveled up to 60 and acquired a skill called Antidote Magic. On the 69th floor, Sakura encountered dragons, and despite her fear, she attacked, declaring that she wouldn't be swallowed by a dragon again. Impressed by her fighting skills and determination, Sakura watched Iso and believed she would definitely become an excellent player. In the end, Iso leveled up to 71. Sakura praised her, saying she didn't need her help after all. Iso smiled and replied that she definitely did because she was very scared, so Sakura had to go with her. Sakura then noticed the skill Identify Magic and asked what it was. Iso replied that she thought it could help her learn more about monsters and item information. Sakura was shocked to learn about such an amazing skill, so she tried using the skill on her weapon and saw that it was a weapon of destruction. Iso thought the information might be limited because the skill was only at level 1. Afterwards, they both tried to identify the items with unknown effects, but they couldn't see anything. Iso apologized, unsure if it was because her skill was only at level 1. Sakura asked why she was apologizing and pointed out an item drop on the floor before they moved on. The scene shifts to the 40th floor, where Iso marveled at the vast cold chamber. Sakura noted it was colder than usual and felt like they were approaching the lowest floor. Suddenly, the gate they had entered through slammed shut, and Iso told Sakura that they were trapped. Suddenly, Sakura sensed another presence, and looking closer, she spotted a floor boss named Dark Leaguer appearing out of thin air. She shouted Iso's name to warn her, and wondered if the boss had been there since they entered. Iso remarked that the Dark Leaguer looked terrifying. Sakura asked Iso if she could use her Identify magic on it. Iso tried it and reported that the Dark Leaguer's only weakness was holy light magic. Sakura declared that no matter what, she would hold off the Dark Leaguer while Iso had to defeat it. Iso replied that she understood. Unexpectedly, the Dark Leaguer began to roar, shaking them both. Sakura tried to use a level 10 ice magic attack, but to her surprise, it didn't work. She couldn't activate it, which made her anxiously wonder why. She also mentioned that something seemed off about this floor. Sakura realized that magic was sealed on this floor. She shared that her magic was sealed too. Iso added that she couldn't cast any spells either. This meant they both had to fight without magic. Suddenly, the Dark Leaguer started charging at them to attack. Iso called out to Sakura to let her handle it. She readied her axe to attack, but just as the Dark Leaguer got close, its body split apart like a mass of slime. Iso was shocked, while Sakura tried not to panic, realizing the Dark Leaguer seemed almost unbeatable. Iso believed that even without Sakura's help, she could still defeat it, but just then, Sakura thought that the problem was that the Dark Leaguer, being a floor boss, could do more than just seal magic. As Sakura was thinking this, she realized the Dark Leaguer was attacking them both and quickly pushed Iso out of the way. Iso nervously cried out her name, and Sakura assured her that she'd be fine. Meanwhile, Sakura was completely enveloped in the Dark Leaguer's slimy body. Seeing this, Iso retorted that no matter how she looked at it, Sakura was not fine at all. Even Sakura realized that although she used all her strength, nothing happened. She was still being swallowed. She yelled for Iso to stay back and warned her not to touch anything, no matter what. Finally, the Dark Leaguer swallowed Sakura whole, leaving Iso standing there, stunned and speechless. Inside the Dark Leaguer, Sakura fell into a strange place and wondered if it was the creature's stomach or another dimension. Suddenly, she heard Iso calling her name, and the voice came from below. She realized she was trapped high up, encased in a crystal within that chamber. Sakura thought about how to get out. First, with all her might, she punched the crystal, feeling that it was very hard but not indestructible. She kept punching it, thinking it wouldn't take long and hoping Iso could hold on until then. The Dark Leaguer then tried to attack her, and she defended with her axe, but she was knocked to the ground. The Gargantua item fell out of her dress as she dodged the Dark Leaguer's attack. She heard a cracking sound during the movement. When she turned to look, she realized the Gargantua had cracked. Suddenly, a huge explosion erupted from the floor, and the Dark Leaguer immediately took a defensive stance. In an instant, a giant Gargantua appeared there. Iso was surprised to see it, and Sakura realized the true purpose of those items, wondering how the Gargantua would fight the Dark Leaguer. Iso was taken aback by the Gargantua's appearance and felt relieved that she wasn't alone anymore. The Dark Leaguer attacked the Gargantua, and the Gargantua retaliated by punching the Dark Leaguer. However, just like Sakura, the Gargantua was also swallowed. Iso grew tense and worried, seeing that the Gargantua had vanished as well. As the Gargantua landed next to Sakura, an idea suddenly struck her. Meanwhile, Iso shouted that she wasn't done yet and would use another item if necessary. Iso then took out the Exodia and showed it to the Dark Leaguer, but to her surprise, nothing happened. She nervously tried shaking it and pulling it and finally opened it, discovering it looked exactly like a lighter. She flicked the lighter on, and suddenly a strange creature emerged from it. The scene flashes back to 3 hours earlier, on the 38th floor, where Iso was sitting on a chair. Sakura told her she had something to give her, and she responded with a nod. Suddenly, Sakura vanished before her eyes, making her nervous and ask where she had gone. Sakura greeted her from behind, startling Iso. She asked how she did that, if it was magic. Sakura replied that it was, and explained it was an instant movement from the teleportation magic she had just learned when she leveled up. She also mentioned that since it was only at level 1, it consumed a huge amount of MP, and she felt a bit nauseous after casting it. So she shouldn't overuse it. Sakura reassured Iso, telling her not to worry too much about the MP and that she'd get used to the feeling. Iso cheerfully shared that she found it very interesting. Sakura also mentioned that it had been a while since she'd gotten a new skill, so she felt a little excited. The scene then cuts back to the present, where Sakura calls Gargantua's name, and the Gargantua responds with a nod. Sakura was stunned to see that Gargantua could talk. Even so, he asked Gargantua for help, urging it to assist in destroying any barrier, be it a wall or the ground. Gargantua replied that it was impossible, as this space was created by a special crystal that couldn't be destroyed. Even if a crack could be made, it would just repair itself. Sakura then asked Gargantua if it could use magic. Gargantua said no. Sakura laughed and said that was definitely impossible. However, Gargantua informed Sakura that she could, in fact, use him as a medium to cast magic. Sakura, confused, asked what a medium was. Gargantua explained that by touching him, the user could imbue him with up to 3 of their magic skills, but each skill could only be used once before needing to be reset. Gargantua also noted that he couldn't use resurrection or healing magic under any circumstances. Sakura asked Gargantua about sealing magic. Gargantua replied that such attacks would have no effect on him. Sakura was delighted to hear this and told Gargantua that they should leave this place. The scene shifts to Iso, who asks the strange fire creature if he is Exodia. Exodia replies that yes, he is Exodia, the blazing spirit of fire from hell. Iso nervously told Exodia that she didn't like him at all. Exodia was surprised and asked why. Iso explained that she had been hit on by a boy who acted just like Exodia back in middle school. Exodia first apologized, but then asked her not to compare him to such clumsy teenagers. Exodia also asked Iso to look at the dark ligger, noting that it seemed afraid of him and wouldn't dare come near them. He mentioned that he wasn't here to chat or engage in meaningless talk, as he had been lit by the fiery depths of hell and had been saying so for a long time. Iso, confused, asked Exodia what nonsense he was talking about. Exodia replied, asking her to simply make a wish, as he would grant 1 wish for her. Iso confirmed, asking if he really meant 1 wish. Exodia affirmed, saying that granting wishes was the reason he appeared, and encouraged her to ask for whatever she wanted, whether it was power, money, or something else. Iso pleaded with Exodia to help her save Sakura, who had just been swallowed by the dark ligger. Exodia was surprised that she would ask for a wish for someone else, but he replied that it was impossible, as Sakura was trapped in the metaphysical space above. Iso cried out and asked Exodia if he could save Sakura, if he knew where he was. Exodia, still shocked by her wish, asked again to confirm if she really wanted that, explaining that with his power, anything was possible. Iso replied with a cute puppy dog face, saying that right now she wished for nothing more. Exodia prepared to grant her wish, but at the same time, Sakura had used teleportation magic with Gargantua's help. Exodia explained that Iso's wish could not be granted. Suddenly, she saw Gargantua and Sakura appear near the dark ligger. Sakura ordered Gargantua to use ice magic, and with her help, the dark ligger was completely frozen. Sakura then told Iso that she had told her she was fine. Gargantua chimed in, telling Sakura to thank him since she was safe thanks to him. Sakura thanked Gargantua. Seeing Sakura, Iso was overjoyed and ran towards him. Sakura told Iso that he was lucky he came in time. Iso asked in confusion, "In time for what?" Sakura replied that she was about to use her precious wish to save him, as she had her own use for it and didn't want to waste it on him. He also suggested that she could take down the dark ligger. Iso asked in surprise if he was serious. Sakura confirmed, reminding Iso that he had promised to help her conquer the dungeon. Iso was thrilled and delivered the finishing blow to the dark ligger, finally reaching level 99. Iso received a dropped item called the Dark Sphere. Sakura asked about the item, and Iso replied that it was called the Dark Sphere, and she was sure it was something amazing. Suddenly, Exodia approached them from behind and asked if they were going to keep him waiting any longer, urging them to state their wish. Iso apologized while Sakura was surprised to see that Exodia had been waiting for them so patiently. Iso then took a few seconds to think about her wish and finally said that she had no wish for the moment. Exodia said that he found Iso interesting, which was why he liked her, and told her she could call him whenever she wanted. Sakura asked if that was really okay with her. Iso replied to Sakura that he had already helped her so much, and now she had to finish the rest on her own. Sakura laughed, saying he hadn't done anything. Iso was impressed that even after all Sakura had done, he was still so humble. She then gave Sakura a high five, and Gargantua too. Sakura mentioned that he wondered how much they would get from this. Iso suggested they should find something to eat first. The scene then shifts to the dungeon center, where Sakura asked in surprise if Mei had mentioned 100 million yen. Mei replied no, explaining that it was just a rough estimate. She clarified that 100 million crystals were expected to become a new energy source for the world. Maya then asked if they knew that through magic appraisal, it was determined that the dark sphere contained an energy source hundreds of millions of times greater than normal. Sakura and Iso were surprised to hear this. Maya also shared that although it was just an estimate, its value was beyond the authority of a local dungeon center to price, but she was sure that it was a very precious commodity. She then asked if Sakura and Iso were okay with them contacting Miss Iso once they confirmed the price. After some further checking, Iso replied with a nod, but Sakura realized that Iso didn't understand what Maya had said. Maya then asked them to wait, confirming that they had successfully conquered the Blue Cave dungeon. Sakura replied that was correct. Maya explained that since the Red Cave dungeon was conquered, any player who clears an unmapped dungeon will receive a reward. Sakura and Iso looked at Maya with confusion, making Maya realize they didn't understand at all. She then shared that for clearing the Blue Cave dungeon, they would receive 3 million yen after confirmation from the center. Maya asked Sakura and Iso how they wanted to split the reward. Sakura responded by asking Maya to transfer it all to Iso. Hearing this, Iso got angry and shouted that there was no way. Sakura tried to convince her, saying that she was the one who cleared the dungeon. Iso then asked Maya to split the reward evenly, since they both cleared the dungeon. Sakura tried to stop her, but Iso yelled, warning him not to make her angry because she could be very scary. Seeing this, both Maya and Sakura smiled, finding it amusing that someone as gentle as Iso could get angry. After leaving the dungeon center, Iso was thrilled to receive such a large sum of money, knowing her older sister would be very surprised. Iso then asked Sakura if he was close friends with Gargantua and if he could sell it to her. At that moment, she noticed that Gargantua had no intention of returning to the dungeon. She asked him if he didn't want to go back inside. Gargantua pointed towards the entrance and replied that he was scared, as the door was too small for him and his mission was over, so he would just stay here and rot. Iso told him not to say such negative things. Sakura thought for a moment, then asked Gargantua if he would like to take on a quest to protect him while he slept, as it was annoying to have monsters wake him up. Gargantua replied that it would be his pleasure. Sakura then remembered and apologized to Iso for not asking her first, since Gargantua was her property. Iso agreed, saying that Gargantua seemed happy, so it was fine. She then nervously asked what they could do about the door. Sakura answered reassuringly that it was fine, as his magic bag would provide a very comfortable space for Gargantua. He also assured Iso that since Gargantua was her property, he would never sell him. Iso then shared that she had remembered something upon seeing Gargantua and him together. Iso took out Exodia again. Exodia asked what was going on. Iso explained that she had decided on a wish. Exodia got excited and urged her to reveal it, encouraging her to express all her desires and ambitions. To Exodia's surprise, Iso asked him to be her friend. She also mentioned that she had thought about the boy who hit on her in middle school, wondering if he was just bored or actually wanted to be friends. She then laughed and asked Exodia if he was bored. Exodia remained silent on that matter and explained that he didn't need to use his power to achieve something as simple as friendship. He also added somewhat mockingly that she shouldn't compare him to teenagers. Iso angrily yelled at Exodia, telling him not to call her a little girl, as her name was Iso Miki. She then demanded that Exodia say he was her friend. Exodia immediately proclaimed that Iso was his friend, and then he disappeared. Sakura was happy to see that Exodia and Iso had become close. Iso then asked Sakura what they would do next. Sakura thought about Kamishiro's wish and then proceeded to tell Iso all about his conversation with him. Iso asked if Sakura was really prepared for a player versus player match, wondering if it was against people like the Akura brothers. Sakura denied it, explaining that if it had been them, he would have refused. He then explained that it was a friend of his, which was why he was hesitant. To him, the match seemed like a meaningless fight, and he didn't care who won. Iso called out his name, recalling that when they first met, he had immediately avoided her gaze. She said that it doesn't have to mean anything right now, but that he shouldn't avoid his friends. Afterward, the two of them kept glancing at each other, but Iso felt shy and turned away. Sakura started to celebrate his victory, leaving Iso completely embarrassed, covering her face. At that moment, Sakura thanked her, and Iso replied that she should be the one thanking him. After that, they said their goodbyes. Sakura took out his phone and messaged Kamishiro that he was ready for the match. The scene shifts to the Senku no Gurin group, where they were fighting a floor boss. Kamishiro defeated the boss, surprising everyone since he did it all by himself. A stressed-out Kaido asked what that was all about, and even Nagasawa chimed in, remarking that it had been a while since they'd seen Kamishiro so serious, and wondered if something was bothering him. Kamishiro replied that he was just excited, his excitement stemming from Sakura's message indicating he was ready for their battle. The scene shifts to a few days later at Sakura's house, where Kamishiro has come to visit, wishing Sakura a good morning. He asked Sakura to come with him because he wanted to show him his mining area. Sakura asked Kamishiro where he got his address from. Kamishiro replied that he couldn't say exactly who, but that someone had let him know. Sakura guessed that it must have been Maria. The scene shifts to Kamishiro's mining area, where he tosses a ring towards Sakura. He explained that the ring, called Big Shell, was an item that could absorb hits for the user up to 3 times. When hit, the ring would gradually turn from red to black before breaking. Sakura asked if whoever destroyed it first would be the loser. Kamishiro replied that was correct, and asked if this would help Sakura fight at full strength. Sakura felt a little down, asking if this was really okay, since Kamishiro could just end the match instantly. Kamishiro smiled and asked Sakura that if he really thought that, then why did he agree to it? Sakura replied that he felt he had to face his friends, no matter what happens, and that's just the way he thinks. Kamishiro commented that he thought Sakura had changed and asked if it was because he had fallen for someone. They then ended their conversation and prepared for the match. Sakura was confident that he would defeat Kamishiro, but at that moment, he realized he had never seen Kamishiro go all out. Right from the start of the match, the area around Sakura was flooded with ice, making him wonder why only ice magic was being used. Finding this strange, Sakura decided that he didn't know what Kamishiro was planning, but he wasn't going to hold back. So Sakura tried to attack Kamishiro using teleportation magic, succeeding in landing the first hit and moving far away from him. Sakura felt tense as he wasn't used to using teleportation magic. Kamishiro praised Sakura for a successful attack. Sakura then tried to attack Kamishiro again, but this time a block of ice appeared in their path. When Sakura moved in the same direction again, he was surprised to find Kamishiro was no longer there. Suddenly, Sakura realized someone was coming from behind and quickly dodged the attack. Kamishiro smiled upon seeing Sakura dodge his surprise attack. Kamishiro then did his best to hit Sakura, but each time, Sakura managed to dodge his attacks. The fight fell into a pattern, with Kamishiro attacking from behind and Sakura countering. Now using his teleportation skill, Kamishiro was ready and succeeded in hitting Sakura, scoring a hit. Now they were both even, with one successful hit each. Sakura realized that Kamishiro had tricked him, luring him into using his teleport. He noticed that the ice magic had been appearing from the start without any casting time from Kamishiro. Sakura asked Kamishiro where he had cast the magic from. Kamishiro, impressed that Sakura had figured it out, admitted that he currently had 4 skills. Kamishiro shared that one of his skills was ice magic. Another required only 1/10 the usual experience points, and the third was called magic field. Curious, Sakura asked what a magic field was. Kamishiro replied that a magic field is a spell that works within a defined area, and its effects can be very unique depending on the user. His specific ability with it was Magic Domination Expansion, which allowed him to freely cast magic within a designated area. Suddenly, the entire area was filled with Kamishiro's ice magic, forcing Sakura to teleport into the air to evade. Kamishiro remarked that Sakura's movements were too predictable and simple, noting that Sakura was really bad at reading his opponents. He also pointed out that he knew Sakura would definitely dodge upwards and to the right when he teleported into the air. Anticipating this, Kamishiro unleashed an ice magic attack from behind. Hitting Sakura for the second time, Kamishiro shouted that he's been watching Sakura for a very long time. The scene flashes back to Kamishiro's childhood, where all his classmates were asking him to teach or help them with their schoolwork. In response, he would just smile. Kamishiro shared that he had a habit of smiling instead of saying things that were hard to express. He also mentioned that his parents always told him not to be swayed by his surroundings and to never stop trying. For Kamishiro, working hard was a very comfortable thing. During the National Middle School Kendo tournament, Kamishiro easily defeated his opponents. Everyone was stunned and praised him for his overwhelming strength. After that, Kamishiro wanted to become even stronger and happier, so he gave it his all. However, he felt frustrated by the growing distance between himself and everyone around him. For a long time, he went easy on his opponents just to make the matches last longer, because he always won too easily. People started calling him a genius and saying that he was just toying with his opponents. The scene returns to the present, where Kamishiro wonders if he will ever have an interesting fight, even if it's a real battle. Sakura was backed by his infinite upgrades and 1,000 times experience ability, but his movements and attacks were very predictable. At a glance, Kamishiro thought Sakura was only good because of his skills, but that wasn't the case. Sakura praised Kamishiro, saying he was very good. However, when he said good, Sakura only meant he was average, as he now began to use his true power. Kamishiro then used his magic field to attack with ice magic from all sides, but Sakura saw the attack coming and easily dodged it. At the same time, Kamishiro lunged in for a sword slash at Sakura. To defend himself, Sakura tried to punch Kamishiro down, but it was actually just a feint. Kamishiro used his magic circle against Sakura again. Sakura also used teleport to get above the magic field, and then he attacked Kamishiro with a spell. Kamishiro realized Sakura was casting a spell on him, but wondered why he was doing it from such a long distance. So, Kamishiro decided to attack Sakura with ice magic, while Sakura was shocked to discover that he couldn't use his magic field. The scene flashes back to Kamishiro's school days, where he was practicing taekwondo. Kaido approached Kamishiro and asked if it was really fun practicing all by himself. Confused, Kamishiro asked who he was. Kaido replied that he was also a first year. Hearing this, Kamishiro asked what Kaido was going to do about it. In a fit of anger, Kaido grabbed Kamishiro by the collar and said his attitude was pissing him off because he wasn't respecting the fight. Kaido demanded that Kamishiro at least go all out in their match. Kamishiro smiled and challenged Kaido to make him, believing he could beat Kaido with a single punch. Suddenly, Nagasawa appeared and told them both to stop. Kaido angrily asked what was going on. Nagasawa replied that Kaido couldn't fight like this because if something happened, they'd be in trouble and the first years would have to bear the consequences. She also mentioned that there's a rule in their school where all issues can be settled with sword fights instead of words. Nagasawa added that she knew Kaido couldn't beat Kamishiro alone, which is why Kaido was scared. Kaido was about to say something in anger, but before he could, Nagasawa asked Kamishiro how he felt about a 3-on-1 match. She also expressed that she didn't care about any rumors of Kamishiro being a genius. Then she asked Kamishiro if he wanted an all-out fight, because that's exactly what he was going to get. Kamishiro grew tense, unsure of what to do. Kaido then told Kamishiro not to think he was unbeatable, emphasizing that the only thing that truly can't be beaten is a true genius. The scene then cuts back to the present, where Sakura is unable to cast spells in the magic field, remarking that creating a magic circle in a specific area seems to be very difficult. Suddenly, Sakura attacked Kamishiro, but to Kamishiro's surprise, nothing appeared in front of him. In a flash, Kamishiro sensed something coming from behind. He quickly realized it and wondered if Sakura had teleported a magic circle behind him. Sakura then used lightning magic. At that moment, Kamishiro remembered Kaido's words that the only thing that can't be beaten is a true genius. Now, they both had 2 hits on each other, with only one more hit for someone to claim victory. Kamishiro was thrilled to see that Sakura was using his full power, so he leaped towards Sakura to strike with his sword, narrowing the magic field for greater precision. Kamishiro also used ice magic to reshape the ice, increasing his speed with additional maneuvers. Seeing this, Sakura was stunned, wondering just how much Kamishiro must have practiced to learn those skills. Sakura began dodging the attacks, and Kamishiro was pleased to see that Sakura was finally starting to use his intuition to predict when to dodge. Kamishiro also noticed that Sakura could combine magic. But now came the surprise. Kamishiro had a trump card in the form of his new skill, Level 10 Clone Magic. He used the clone to attack from both sides. But to Kamishiro's surprise, Sakura used teleportation and ice magic to counter. Sakura then reminded him that Kamishiro had revealed he had 4 skills. Kamishiro realized Sakura was right. He had mentioned it at the start of the match. It was Kamishiro's mistake to forget that Sakura knew about his skills. Sakura then landed a decisive blow on Kamishiro, and the match finally ended. The winner between the monster player Sakura and the genius Kamishiro was Sakura. The scene shifts to Kamishiro's house, where they are preparing for dinner. Seeing so much food on the table, a surprised Sakura asked Kamishiro if he really ate that much. Kamishiro replied that he didn't and explained that he told Kuyo a friend was coming over, so Kuyo prepared all that food. Sakura then thanked them for the meal and complimented Kuyo on it. Kuyo replied that she was worried the food wouldn't suit Sakura's taste, but now she was very happy it did. Kamishiro then thanked Sakura again and admitted that he had lost badly in their match. Sakura replied that wasn't the case, mentioning that despite the level difference, he had struggled a lot too. They then had a conversation, and eventually, Kamishiro asked Sakura to get straight to the point. Sakura looked at Kamishiro with confusion. Kamishiro then asked Sakura how he felt about officially joining Senku no Guren. Sakura replied that he was refusing the offer. Hearing this, Kuyo came very close to Sakura and began staring at him intensely. Both Sakura and Kamishiro felt tense under Kuyo's heavy gaze. Kamishiro then asked Sakura for his reason for refusing. Sakura replied that joining a guild and knowing exactly what to do next seemed a bit boring to him. Kamishiro smiled. admitting that Sakura's answer was definitely what he had expected. Sakura then asked if he heard correctly that Kamishiro was determined to conquer the A-rank dungeon, implying that perhaps there was a special reason beyond just completing it. Kamishiro smiled and asked Sakura what he thought dungeons were. Sakura looked on with a confused expression. Kamishiro explained that a year had passed since the dungeons appeared, but understanding the level system and the items that drop from monsters was still beyond their reach, accessible only to a chosen few. The scene shifts to Iso's sister, where a boy named Dummy comes to greet Mika, Iso's older sister. Mika was staring at a photo of Iso at that moment. Dummy asked if she was still looking at her sister's picture. Mika replied that she was. Dummy then asked why she was looking at a photo when she video calls Iso so often. Mika got angry and made a fierce face, saying there was no signal. Suddenly, she lunged towards Dummy and explained that Iso was in a dungeon. She was really worried because Iso had conquered a level 6 dungeon with some boy. Dummy realized something serious was about to happen. In a fit of rage, Mika yelled that she wouldn't let Sakura get away with what he did to her precious little sister. Dummy told her to calm down, assuring her that he believed her theory. Mika calmed down and asked Dummy to forget everything he had heard, saying that nowadays, anything could happen at any age. The shot then shows Mika's badge, indicating that she is a researcher at the Dungeon Center. The scene returns to Kamishiro's house, where he shares his desire to understand why, for what purpose, by whom, how, and what dungeons are. He wants to know everything and believes the answer lies inside the A-rank dungeon. Sakura replied that he understood, but he'd never really thought about it that deeply. Regardless, he just wanted to thank the dungeons for bringing him friends. Kamishiro started laughing, and a confused Sakura asked what was so funny. Kamishiro replied that he really thinks Sakura has changed. Sakura answered that Kamishiro had already said that, but he didn't think it was necessarily a good thing. Kamishiro assured him that it really was a good thing, but deep down he wondered if people would one day get tired of it. Kamishiro also mentioned that it was a loop with no end, because as long as Sakura is a player, he can't avoid meeting other people. Kamishiro expressed his belief that Sakura would surely encounter many more changes in the future. Sakura smiled and replied that he was looking forward to it. Later, in the city, people are talking about Iso. They believe that a girl, who is the strongest female player, has completed the level 6 dungeon. They even heard that the girl didn't need protection. She simply used an axe to conquer the dungeons. On top of that, she had a terrifying, bloodthirsty monster with her. Some people were scared by this, but others shared that the most surprising thing was the girl's gentle and friendly personality. The scene then shifts to the 14th floor of the G-rank Misty Depths dungeon, where Iso is looking for something, and is shocked to find that it's not in her bag. She starts to cry a little, lamenting that she was really looking forward to eating it as a reward. Exodia got stressed by Iso's childish act of crying over a hamburger, so he told her to stop crying and move on to the next floor. Suddenly, Iso stared at Exodia with a strange look. Exodia asked her what that look meant, while also mentioning that he hadn't eaten anything. Iso angrily clarified that she never said it was a hamburger. Exodia felt stressed, trying to change the subject by complimenting Iso on her new nails, asking if she got them done recently. Iso shouted again that there was no one else but them, and she asked Exodia if he ate something while she was sleeping. Exodia repeated that he hadn't eaten anything. However, Iso was persistent, insisting that Exodia had eaten it and calling him a big liar. Exodia got angry and retreated into the lighter, saying Iso was too stubborn, so goodbye. Iso got angry too, replying that it was fine and she wouldn't bother with him forever either. On the deepest floor, the 15th, Iso continued forward and tried to talk to Exodia, but he didn't respond. She accepted it and kept walking. Suddenly, she was attacked by a floor boss named Lark. Iso started screaming, but after a few seconds, she realized she was losing her senses, suspecting it might be poison and that the gas was making her sleepy. She quickly needed to cast an antidote spell, but just then, Exodia emerged from the lighter and began to fight the boss, Lark. While they were fighting, a worried Iso asked Exodia if he was okay. Exodia replied, telling her not to worry about him, because he'd obviously be fine. Hearing this, Iso regained her courage and grabbed her axe to attack, but the monster snatched her axe. With no other choice, she used a light attack spell on the boss, Lark, and finally, the floor was cleared. Iso asked Exodia again if he was okay. Exodia replied that he was fine. Iso then picked up a dropped item called the Mirror of Memories, which allowed her to see what had happened in the past in that very location. Delighted, she asked the mirror to show the moment they were resting, and her hamburger disappeared. Exodia became tense and quickly told her to wait a moment. Iso nervously asked why. Exodia explained that he wasn't planning on telling her, but once he grants a wish, he disappears and is reborn somewhere else with his memory wiped clean, leaving only the desire to grant someone's request. However, she was different, because she had shown him that he wasn't just a tool for granting wishes and then disappearing. Hearing that, Iso happily replied that she was glad to hear it and asked if he could always be this serious. Exodia asked her to wait a moment because he wasn't finished speaking. However, Iso had already started running back to where she had slept, eager to see for herself what had happened in the mirror. The mirror indeed showed what had happened in the past. A monster had tried to snatch her bag, but Exodia appeared to save it. In the process, the hamburger fell out of the bag. Exodia then sneakily ate the hamburger. Seeing this scene, Exodia was shocked. While Iso was now certain that he had lied to her, she told him she felt worse about the lie than about losing the burger. Exodia said he thought there might be a glitch with the mirror. Iso angrily yelled, asking why he had deceived her. Exodia then apologized, explaining that she always seemed to enjoy her hamburgers so much, so he was curious to know what they tasted like. Exodia also explained that he didn't tell the truth because he thought she would hate him. Iso told him that she doesn't like being deceived. Exodia apologized, saying he didn't know that. Then Iso asked if he liked the hamburger. Exodia replied that he did. Iso then said they would eat hamburgers together after clearing the dungeon, and she also apologized for not knowing he liked them too. While on their way out, Iso asked Exodia about what he was going to say earlier. He tried to avoid the subject, but Iso insisted, saying she really wanted to know. Exodia then revealed that he actually had no intention of granting her wish. Iso didn't understand what he meant as they arrived at the dungeon's exit. She stepped outside and celebrated excitedly, announcing that she had conquered another dungeon. Then she thought about telling Sakura about it. So she started typing a message. Exodia asked why she didn't just call him directly. Iso replied that she wasn't sure why, but it felt a little strange to face Sakura. Exodia thought for a moment, then sneakily pressed the call button on her phone. Iso yelled that he was bullying her, making Exodia laugh. Just then, Sakura picked up the phone and said hello. The two of them had a conversation, reminiscing about how a year had passed since the dungeons appeared. Let's see what happened with Sakura before Iso called him. Sakura shared that since he and Iso cleared the Blue Cave dungeon, 2.5 months had passed, and without much thought, he had focused on clearing as many dungeons as possible. His level was now around 40,000, and he had learned several new skills like natural recovery, magic resistance, 7-fold magic efficiency, and a 1/20th reduction in required experience. As a result, he received a lot of attention, with everyone praising him and girls fawning over him. One day, while Sakura was going somewhere, Sakuraba suddenly appeared and asked Sakura if he could get his autograph. Seeing Sakuraba, Sakura remembered everything from the past. Sakuraba told Sakura that he'd heard rumors about him, that he was the one who used Team Senku no Guren, a legend hiding behind the skirts of the strongest female gamer, Iso Miki. He also spread rumors that Sakura had staged the fight with Sakuraba's group to gain fame. Sakuraba remarked that it felt great to see Sakura, and that Sakura was still just a useless kid. Sakuraba's friends praised him, comparing how Sakuraba was truly superior to Sakura, and pointing out that Sakuraba had just cleared a J-rank dungeon. Sakuraba even demanded that Sakura give him his wallet, saying it wouldn't be a problem. Sakura just silently watched them as Sakuraba's group mocked him. Sakura then remarked that Sakuraba hadn't changed at all, still acting like an idiot. After Sakura disappeared, Sakuraba and his group grew tense, wondering where Sakura had gone and feeling insulted by his attitude. They decided they had to catch him at all costs. The scene shifts to where Sakura had teleported. Sakura didn't want to waste time on Sakuraba, so he had used a teleportation spell. When he accidentally bumped into a boy, he apologized. As they looked at each other, the boy asked Sakura if he was the Sakura. Confused, Sakura also asked if the boy's name was Izuen. At this, Sakura recalled the past when a teacher was questioning him. The teacher confirmed that Sakura had said he was trying to stop Izuen from being bullied. And that was why he fought with Sakuraba, correct? Sakura replied that it was. The teacher then recounted that according to Sakura's classmates, no one knew of any bullying going on, and even Izuen himself denied being bullied. It was because of this that Sakura was expelled. The scene returns to the present, where Izuen shares that he has been following all the news about Sakura, and as a fellow gamer, he really admires him. Sakura asked Izuen if he was a gamer now, and Izuen replied that he was. Izuen also mentioned that he had dropped out of school and greatly admired Sakura's courage. He apologized for not admitting that he was being bullied, which led to Sakura's expulsion. Sakura replied that he didn't mind because the ones at fault were Sakuraba and the others. Izuen, impressed with Sakura, remarked that girls must be all over him, right? Sakura told him to be quiet about that, as he was just speaking from the heart. Izuen thanked Sakura again for his help back then, and then asked Sakura what he thought of him. A friend, a classmate, or just a useless kid who gets bullied? Sakura honestly replied that he really didn't know. Sakura was about to say more, but before he could, Izuen said goodbye. Sakura felt tense but said goodbye to Izuen as well. After that, Izuen and Sakura went their separate ways. Just then, Sakura was thinking about the F-rank dungeon he had come looking for when he suddenly received a call from ISO. He quickly answered the phone, which surprised ISO on the other end. Meanwhile, Sakuraba and his group were searching for Sakura, but in the process, they ran into Izuen. Sakuraba was delighted and approached Izuen, greeting him by saying they'd run into quite a bit of trash today. Sakuraba laughed and suggested they have a little chat. The scene shifts back to Sakura, who is talking with Iso. Iso recounted the whole story about Exodia and the hamburger. Sakura laughed upon hearing the story and asked Exodia, "No one can resist something that delicious, right?" Exodia responded with a nod, knowing Sakura would understand him. Iso got angry and shouted that now Exodia and Sakura were ganging up on her. Sakura laughed again, which made Iso blush. Iso was happy to see Sakura laughing so much, noticing he seemed different. Exodia also mentioned that Sakura seemed more cheerful. Sakura then asked Iso if she remembered when he told her the reason he dropped out of school. Iso replied that she did. Sakura shared that he had tried to forget about it, but deep down, it still hurt. Little by little, he felt helpless because he couldn't do anything, and because of him, Izuen's bullying had gotten even worse. However, today, he met Izuen, and their conversation made him very happy. The scene switches to Izuen and Sakuraba, where Sakuraba and the others were apologizing to Izuen because they had been single-handedly defeated by him. Izuen laughed sarcastically and told Sakuraba to apologize for ever thinking he was useless. Sakuraba angrily roared, asking how someone like Izuen could defeat them when they were all level 99. Izuen laughed and said he would reveal something. His level was actually 10,000. Thus, another person with the ability to level up infinitely had appeared. But this one was consumed by the ambition that came with possessing such a skill. The scene changes to a few days later in a G-rank dungeon. the dungeon of the endless desert. Sakura heard some voices and woke up. He wondered why he had fallen asleep. When he opened his eyes, he saw two people asking if he was still alive. Sakura remembered that he had been poisoned. The boy asked the girl to bring out the panacea they had. Sakura got up and recalled a past incident where he had mistaken a poisonous eggplant for a vegetable, causing him to get poisoned and pass out. Seeing Sakura move, they checked to see if he was okay. Because they thought Sakura was paralyzed, they were very surprised to see that he was actually fine. Sakura replied that it was because he had the ability to recover from abnormal statuses. At that moment, Sakura wondered if they were really planning to use an expensive item like a panacea on him. The other two were astonished to hear about Sakura's skill, as they didn't know such amazing abilities existed. The boy and girl then introduced themselves. The boy's name was Utsuka Eiji, and the girl was his wife, Hiroko. Sakura was surprised to learn they were a married couple. Utsuka then asked if this was Sakura's first time in a dungeon, noting that this place was very dangerous for him. Sakura tensely replied that he was at level 99. Hiroko asked if Sakura was joking, as she found it hard to believe that someone over level 90 would be defeated by a poison eggplant so easily. Utsuka asked Sakura if he could show them his status board, expressing sincere concern for him. Sakura felt hesitant to show the two his status, but they started patting his head, comforting him that there was nothing to be ashamed of for being a low-level player, since everyone starts from 0. Sakura wanted to refuse, but couldn't bring himself to tell the truth, so he just said he wanted to finish the dungeon. Hiroko then asked Sakura if he really wanted to clear the dungeon, and suggested that they help him. Utsuka agreed with the idea, acknowledging that it was dangerous for Sakura to be alone. Sakura wanted to refuse, but a strange feeling welled up inside him as they were genuinely concerned and worried about him. He also remembered Kamashiro's words about meeting new people if he continued to be a player. So Sakura agreed to their offer and thanked them for their help. They started patting his head again, treating him like a small child and assuring him there was no need to worry and to ask for help whenever he needed it. Sakura asked them to stop patting his head. After that, they proceeded to the second floor of the dungeon, where there were many paths. Despite the many options, Utsuka confidently chose the middle path. Hiroko also confirmed Utsuka's choice and warned Sakura to be careful, noting that the second floor was quite dark. Confused, Sakura asked them how they knew the middle path was the right one. Utsuka replied that they had entered this dungeon several dozen times, gradually leveling up and preparing items over time. Hiroko added that the last time they reached the 28th floor, and this time their goal was to reach the 30th floor. Hearing this, Sakura was surprised. Hiroko then explained that they were third-year university students and were exploring the dungeon to save money for their wedding. They had been best friends since kindergarten, so they wanted their wedding to be grand and splendid. She then asked Sakura if he liked anyone, promising not to tell a soul. Sakura again replied no, stating that he wasn't romantically interested in anyone at the moment. Hiroko was surprised and asked if Sakura really wasn't close to any girls. Sakura replied that he had some female friends. Hiroko became cheerful and said that he would surely develop feelings for someone soon. Seeing Hiroko and Utsuka chatting, Sakura felt tense and wondered if he should leave to avoid being asked more about his personal life. At that moment, Sakura remembered his childhood friend and realized he used to have a female friend before his father remarried. He wondered if he was remembering correctly until they reached the floor and encountered monsters like golden bees and earth dragons. Hiroko asked Sakura to wait for them, as it could be dangerous for him. Hiroko then used level 5 explosion magic, creating a powerful blast that filled the surrounding area with flying sand. Seeing this, Sakura wondered how they could see anything in the sandstorm. Hiroko then used level 5 positioning magic to find the location of the golden bee monster, and informed Utsuka that it was in the 2 o'clock direction. Without hesitation, Utsuka headed in that direction and defeated the golden bee. Sakura was impressed with their coordination, first reducing the monster's visibility, then using positioning magic to pinpoint its location. Suddenly, an earth monster appeared behind Sakura. Utsuka told Hiroko that something was wrong because he didn't see the earth monster along with the golden bee. Hiroko hurriedly used her positioning magic again. But by the time she did, Sakura had already defeated the earth monster. Her search came up with nothing. To their surprise, they didn't see Sakura defeat the earth monster and wondered if it had been defeated by the explosion magic. They went to check on Sakura and found him buried in the sand. Seeing Sakura buried in the sand, they asked him how he ended up in that state and warned him not to stray too far from them. Sakura picked up the dropped item and they assumed he had wandered off alone, scolding him for going off by himself. When Sakura returned, they scolded him like older siblings or parents would. Sakura replied that he was fine and felt happy, realizing they were truly kind people. Seeing his smile, they asked him not to distract them with that smile and to let them scold him. The scene then shifts to some time later, when Hiroko asks Sakura if he's actually quite strong. Sakura didn't know what to say. Hiroko mentioned that she had heard the name Sakura Makoto before, but hadn't told Utsuka yet. She laughed, imagining Utsuka's reaction when he found out about Sakura. Sakura replied that he understood and laughed along with her. Hiroko then said that she was glad to have met Sakura and that they might have to face the floor boss on this run. She admitted that she was actually very scared and unsure about it. Sakura asked her why she chose to enter the dungeon if she felt so scared. Hiroko replied simply that she loved being with Utsuka. Despite feeling scared and uncertain, the joy of being with him outweighed everything else. Sakura nodded, acknowledging that Utsuka was indeed a kind and reliable person. Hiroko told Sakura not to be fooled by Utsuka's appearance, revealing that he was actually a very shy person since childhood. Sakura urged her to tell him more. Hiroko began to share that Utsuka used to cling to her, always by her side every step of the way. She also said that they understood each other so well that they both thought she would never marry him. But guess what? Now they were both married as if by some strange twist of fate. Sakura smiled upon hearing this. Hiroko got a little angry and told him that if he kept smiling like that, she would get mad. Sakura replied that he hoped they would have the most wonderful wedding ceremony. Hiroko thanked him for the well wishes. Sakura thought about giving her a gift for the wedding and started searching in his bag. Seeing this, Hiroko felt confused about what he was doing. Then, Sakura handed Hiroko a dragon gem as a gift. She confirmed if he really wanted to give it to her. Sakura replied that he didn't have anything better at the moment. Hiroko shared that it was the best gift Sakura could have given her and asked if he wanted an invitation to their wedding. Sakura was surprised and asked if he could really come. Hiroko smiled and said yes. The scene shifts to 2 days later, when they finally reach the 29th floor. At that point, Utsuka said they were about to enter uncharted territory. Hiroko, using her skill, announced that the enemy was just ahead, around the next corner. Utsuka became serious and told Sakura to stay back for that fight. As they approached the enemy, they saw it was a monster named the Masked Monk. Utsuka commented that he had never seen a monster like that before, and although its recommended level wasn't very high, they still needed to be careful. Suddenly, the masked monk used magic, and their surroundings changed from a tunnel to a vast area. Sakura was shocked and wondered if they were really there, as he remembered being in a tunnel just a moment ago. Suddenly, a monster called an adamantite appeared behind Sakura, but he easily defeated it with a single punch. Afterward, Sakura wondered to himself that the adamantite was supposed to be a boss of another floor in a different dungeon. As he was thinking, another monster appeared, a level 107 mechanical knight. Sakura easily defeated that monster with a kick and started thinking about finding the other two monsters as soon as possible. Just as he realized he wasn't leveling up after defeating the boss, the mechanical knight grabbed Sakura's leg and a huge explosion occurred. Sakura was injured, but thanks to his infinite leveling ability, he didn't die. He realized it was a self-destruct attack, which caused him some damage, though not as much as what he had suffered from the 9 tails. He then became tense and lost in his thoughts. Meanwhile, Utsuka and Hiroko defeated the last mechanical knight. Utsuka told Hiroko that they should go find Sakura because he was probably in danger, but Hiroko knew that Sakura would be fine. Just then, Sakura appeared, and they both felt a little relieved. Sakura noticed the mechanical night monster had been defeated and felt tense because he knew what would happen next. He shouted and told them to get out of the way, fast. Hiroko didn't understand what he meant, but it was too late, as the mechanical knight had already grabbed her. Everyone was tense, and Sakura used teleportation magic to quickly go and save Hiroko. However, before he could reach her, an explosion went off, and Hiroko died in the blast. Both Utsuka and Sakura were in complete shock. Utsuka saw that Hiroko's HP bar had hit 0, and he started to cry and scream in agony. This was the cruel reality of the dungeon, where death lurked around every corner. Sakura remembered the notice board he had seen before entering the dungeon, which reported many casualties, deaths, and missing people in the city. The government had advised everyone to choose dungeons appropriate for their power level. Sakura recalled that at every dungeon center, they display status levels and provide protective gear, recovery magic, and healing items. In a world where nothing made sense anymore, one thing remained unchanged. Humans are fragile. The scene returns to Sakura, where he tells Utsuka that he knows someone who can use revival magic. He asked Utsuka to let him move Hiroko with teleportation magic, so he could try something. Utsuka yelled and told Sakura to look at the HP bar above Hiroko. Sakura remembered that when someone dies, their HP bar shows 0 and slowly fades before disappearing completely. The display time is 3 hours. Utsuka screamed that he didn't know what revival magic could do, but it had taken them 3 days to reach the 29th floor, which made it impossible to get back within 3 hours. Sakura suggested using a panacea or first aid on her to reduce the shock. Utsuka screamed at Sakura to be quiet and thanked him for his concern, but said there was nothing that could be done now. Suddenly, the unexpected happened. Hiroko's bag began to glow, and the dragon pearl emerged from inside. A beam of light shot out from the dragon pearl, and to their utter astonishment, Hiroko came back to life. She asked if she had been sleeping. Sakura initially turned away, feeling awkward. Hiroko became confused and then embarrassed when she realized she wasn't wearing anything. Looking down at her body nervously, she wondered where her clothes had gone. But Utsuka started to smile, tears of joy streaming down his face as he hugged her tightly, leaving Hiroko bewildered. She asked what was happening, as his actions were scaring her. Meanwhile, Sakura felt suspicious about the dragon pearl. Hiroko asked again why Utsuka was crying. After a moment, Utsuka explained everything to her. Hiroko was completely shocked and asked if she had really died. Utsuka confirmed it with a nod and explained that she had been revived by the dragon pearl. Hiroko was surprised, saying she didn't remember any of it, but she did remember having trouble breathing. At this point, both Utsuka and Sakura were in a somber mood, kneeling on the ground. Hiroko then told them to get up, saying this was no time for pity and that she was back now. Hiroko suggested they should proceed to the next floor. However, Utsuka shocked her by saying they were going home. Hiroko asked again in surprise, and Utsuka explained they were turning back, because what just happened was a miracle, but he couldn't bear to go through something like that again. He started crying again. Hiroko stepped closer, cupped his face, and asked, "You know you're supposed to protect me, don't you?" She told Utsuka not to be a crybaby, admitting she'd been careless and expressing her gratitude for him being there for her. But she insisted that they needed to think like players, treat this as their final dungeon, and clear it at all costs. Sakura watched their reaction and wondered why he suddenly felt the urge to show them his status. Utsuka and Hiroko were stunned when they saw it. Sakura admitted that he had been naive because despite having high stats and skills, he still let someone die right in front of him. But that wouldn't happen again. Sakura confidently told them to proceed to the next floor, declaring that as long as he was here, no one else would die. Otsuka thanked Sakura for opening up to them and expressed regret for depending on someone younger to carry all the burden, apologizing for being useless. Otsuka also thanked Hiroko, realizing that he truly wanted to clear this dungeon with both of them. The scene shifts to the 30th floor of the dungeon, where there is an endless desert and a boss named Dullahan. Hiroko and Otsuka were both amazed when they saw the boss, commenting on its powerful appearance. Sakura told them to let him handle the fight and speculated that, like all the previous bosses, Dullahan must have some annoying skills. Sakura then tried to attack with ice magic to restrict Dullahan's movements, but to his surprise, the ice blocks were reflected off Dullahan. Seeing this, Otsuka worriedly asked if Sakura's attack had any effect. Sakura replied that it didn't, realizing that it seemed the shield had deflected his magic. Planning his next move, Sakura prepared to use a combo of ice and teleportation magic. However, before he could act, Dullahan attacked Sakura with ice magic. Otsuka nervously asked if Dullahan could also use ice magic. Hiroko replied that she thought it seemed like it was copying him. Sakura realized it and wondered if Dullahan was using reflection magic. Sakura anxiously wondered what to do next. Just then, Otsuka reminded him that there were 3 of them. Sakura remembered he wasn't alone and that they could fight together, so he nodded in agreement and asked them to cover him from behind. Sakura asked Hiroko to use explosion magic, then ran towards Dullahan, using his ice and teleportation magic. Sakura realized that as he got close to Dullahan, he was pushed back as if reflected off an invisible barrier. At that moment, Sakura realized Dullahan's reflection ability worked even outside of its shield. Suddenly, he thought that if that were the case, Dullahan could have used the knife on its right arm to block his attack. But no, Dullahan chose to reflect the explosion from the front instead. Sakura wondered if that meant only Dullahan's weapons could block magic attacks. He then used fire magic to attack Dullahan, but noticed the flames seemed to be absorbed by it. When Dullahan used its tail to attack Sakura, he grabbed it tightly and began to pull Dullahan, preparing to slam its body to the ground. At the same time, he used ice and teleportation magic to attack Dullahan. During the fierce battle, an explosion occurred, filling the surrounding area with smoke. Hiroko felt worried about Sakura and wondered what had happened to him. When the dust and smoke cleared, Hiroko saw that Sakura was slightly injured from the ice magic attack. He slowly removed the ice from his body, thinking about how Dullahan could reflect even indirect attacks. This realization meant there was no simple way to deal with it. Magical attacks would be reflected by the knife and sword, while physical attacks would be blocked by its armor. He also wondered if Hiroko's explosion magic and his ice magic were powerful enough. Suddenly, Sakura's train of thought was interrupted by Otsuka, who had just arrived to fight Dullahan. He explained to Sakura that he could store and absorb magic. Once stored, his attacks would become magical rather than physical. Sakura thought about Otsuka's sword, but Otsuka tensely yelled that the problem was he could only use it once. As the Dullahan attacked Otsuka, he blocked with his shield, only to realize that Sakura had disappeared from behind him. Sakura approached Hiroko and said that he had a plan. He explained that he would continuously imbue Otsuka's sword with magic, while Hiroko kept attacking the Dullahan with explosion magic. Hearing this, Hiroko worriedly asked if that meant Otsuka would become the Dullahan's target. Sakura replied that he had seen the Dullahan react slowly to Otsuka's attacks, suggesting it prioritize reflecting magic instead. The 3 of them decided to go with the plan. Sakura emphasized that they needed to wait for the right moment, as it was the only way to damage the Dullahan, and better than risking his magic being reflected back from an indirect attack. But suddenly, Hiroko dropped to her knees in pain and started coughing up blood. Seeing this, Sakura wondered if she had tried to use magic when her MP was already depleted. Hiroko sadly apologized for not being able to keep up with them. Seeing her in that state, Otsuka recalled the last time Hiroko had died, distracting him from the battle. Despite being distracted, he still managed to block the Dullahan's attack with his shield. Sakura ran towards Otsuka and told him to raise his sword. As Otsuka raised his sword, Sakura didn't hesitate to store fire magic into it twice. Otsuka slashed at the Dullahan, but to his surprise, the attack didn't do much damage, and the Dullahan tried to counterattack Otsuka with its reflection ability. Sakura quickly intervened to block the Dullahan's counter. A surprised Otsuka asked what Sakura was doing. Hearing this, Sakura shouted that he knew how to defeat the Dullahan, telling Otsuka to back away because it was dangerous to be behind him. Using teleportation magic, Sakura went on to explain that they had been using magical and physical attacks separately, which allowed the boss to defend against them effectively. To overcome the Dullahan's reflection ability, Sakura decided to combine both types of attacks, punching the Dullahan while imbuing his strike with fire. Finally, the Dullahan was defeated, and Sakura leveled up by another 1,489 levels. Suddenly, Sakura felt intense pain and, upon checking, saw that his right arm was broken. He realized he could move his elbow, but it caused him excruciating pain. Hiroko scolded Sakura for being so reckless and urged him to use some recovery potions. She couldn't find any in her own bag, so she went to check Otsuka's. Otsuka smiled and told Hiroko to rest, expressing his relief that everyone was safe. Hiroko yelled at Otsuka that he was the only one who could move, so he should hurry up and get some recovery potions. Otsuka realized he had forgotten about first aid in the joy of their victory, so he apologized and then treated them both with potions and bandages. Sometime later, the scene shifted to the outside of the dungeon center in Tokyo. Sakura was amazed by its size, having never seen such a large dungeon center before. There, Sakura asked Otsuka if he could go inside and take a look. Otsuka told him to calm down and explained that they were exhausted, so Sakura would have to wait for them. Sakura apologized, and after a few minutes, they sat down on a bench inside the dungeon. Hiroko had dozed off from exhaustion. Sakura mentioned that he thought the long trip had tired her out. Otsuka replied that the Tokyo Dungeon Center usually buys items at a higher price for research purposes, which attracts many players, hence the standard 1-hour wait. Sakura nodded in understanding. Otsuka then shared that the exhaustion from their dungeon adventures, the thrill of seeing how much money they'd earned, and having a cute, comfortable Hiroko sleeping beside him were the best moments of his day. Sakura then asked Otsuka if he really intended to retire after this. Otsuka said yes, explaining that the dungeons didn't really mean anything to him. Only Hiroko made it all worthwhile. Otsuka then asked Sakura not to tell Hiroko this because it was embarrassing. Sakura laughed and reminded Otsuka that he also had to keep his level a secret to avoid attracting attention. Otsuka agreed, saying there was no way he would tell anyone. Just then, Sakura and Otsuka's number was called, so Otsuka told Hiroko to wake up because it was their turn. After a while, both Hiroko and Otsuka were surprised to find that the floor boss drop was only worth 500 yen. The receptionist, Lily, confirmed that the Karma Sword was a high-damage weapon with the ability to counter magic attacks. However, when equipped, the user's movement speed, SPD, would drop to 0, making the sword a cursed item that rendered its wielder immobile. Otsuka felt uneasy because this was too scary, especially since they had also touched it. Hiroko reassured him, pointing out that Lily had touched it too, without any side effects. Meanwhile, Sakura thought the Karma Sword looked very powerful, so he asked Otsuka if it was okay for him to take it. Otsuka agreed, admitting that Sakura was the one who had actually defeated the boss. Lily then announced that besides the sword, they had obtained 7 other items, and with the dungeon completion reward, their total prize money came to 63.35 million yen. She asked how they wanted to split the money. Otsuka asked Lily to divide the money into 2 shares, one for Sakura's family and one for his own. When Sakura heard this, he was shocked and looked at Otsuka with an angry glare. He then asked Lily to split it into 3 shares for all of them. Hiroko and Otsuka felt tense but also smiled, realizing that Sakura had caught on to them. Sakura replied that he knew they might feel a little shy, but they needed to accept it and have the most amazing wedding. Hiroko praised Sakura for being so kind. As they were about to head back, Lily stopped Sakura and said they had a gift for the 6th-ranked player, Sakura. The three of them looked at Lily with confused expressions, and Sakura asked what rank. Lily asked in surprise, hadn't Sakura heard that the government had announced a ranking based on income a few days ago to motivate players? When the three of them looked at the ranking board, they were shocked to see Sakura ranked 6th with a total income of 53,905 KN. Hiroko was surprised to see that the top player, Iso, was only 18 years old. Sakura was shocked to see Iso at number 1 and realized that the entire Senku no Guren team was also on the list. Suddenly, he saw Maria's name and was surprised to find her team was there too. Utsuka was amazed and asked if Sakura really knew Maria, the model. He also noticed that Izuen Yoda was ranked 15th with 18,355 KN. Lily explained that the rankings were based solely on income and that the strongest player would be determined at the upcoming tournament. She then handed Sakura an invitation, saying that higher-ranked players would be given priority for participation slots. Sakura refused the invitation, saying he wouldn't participate. To his surprise, Hiroko stepped forward and accepted the invitation for him. Hiroko told Sakura that if he still didn't want to participate when the tournament came around, he could just decline then. Sakura was hesitant, but Hiroko said she thought it was much better to have more options. She advised Sakura not to miss this opportunity, since he was so strong. She also added that who knows when they might have to face death. Sakura accepted the invitation, saying he really couldn't understand what they were thinking. Then he started to wonder what would happen if he joined the tournament. Suddenly, from out of nowhere, people inside the dungeon recognized Sakura and began to buzz about him. Some asked for autographs, while others begged for money. Seeing this, Utsuka was shocked and asked Sakura in bewilderment if he was really that famous. Utsuka also apologized for ordering Sakura around in the dungeon like that and wondered how he could atone for such worldly sins. Hearing this, Sakura felt flustered by Utsuka's sudden change in demeanor and replied that it was fine, since he sometimes did similar things himself. Hiroko laughed and asked Sakura if Utsuka was cute, to which Sakura smiled and nodded in agreement. After leaving the dungeon center, Hiroko told Sakura they would send him a wedding invitation. The group had many pleasant conversations before saying their final goodbyes. After exchanging greetings and thanks, they went their separate ways. As Sakura walked ahead, thinking about which dungeon to explore next, a girl suddenly ran up from behind and blew in his ear. Sakura was shocked by the unexpected action. Seeing this, the girl burst out laughing at Sakura's reaction, finding it hilarious. She also commented that she thought he was very shy and cute. Sakura felt tense seeing her, dressed like a cat, and wondered who on earth she was. The girl asked if she had his attention now and requested to take a picture with him. When Sakura flatly refused, she moved closer and asked if they could team up. Sakura firmly replied with another refusal, saying he was fine on his own. The girl cheerfully took that as a yes. Sakura had to stress once again that it wasn't. Confused, she asked why he was being so formal, then leaned in close to whisper in his ear again. Startled, Sakura immediately fled from her, putting a safe distance between them. As he stood far away, Sakura's mind was flooded with questions. The girl looked like she wanted to say something but just smiled silently, watching him from behind.